In a neighborhood of a bunch of studio apartments, a man passes some hooligans and shortly arrives at his home. It seems that this time, too, he is having ramen for dinner. This is Bong Joohyuk, Hyuk for short, a 25-year-old man who has the notable trait of juggling 3 part-time jobs at once. There is a simple reason as to why he cannot save money to move out of here. Even if he's working 3 jobs, he's in debt. Even if he has to live like this, he must pay his debt off. He doesn't have any special skills, since all he has is this body, which is fortunately healthy. Just as he resigns to his life as a pathetic loser, he suddenly awakens, making him choke on his ramen. He can't believe it. Him? An awakener? Awakenings are a strange thing. Some people call it a blessing, a chance to hit it big and turn life around. A stroke of luck even rarer than finding a 4-leaf clover. The thing is, though, that one has to be alive to enjoy it. Entering the dungeon is extremely dangerous after all. Some monsters can tear people apart with ease, both sides of extreme temperatures, deadly poison, traps, and so on. He is a person who avoids confrontation no matter what. He does his best not enter dangerous situations, he admits. He's a loser and a coward. He's lived his entire life like that, so he's not ashamed. But now, he is awakened. However, he doubts himself. Perhaps he is hallucinating from being too tired, so he opens his status window and finds out that he is indeed awakened, with the summon trait. All awakened are granted an ability called a trait, and these traits come in many shapes and sizes, such as swordsmanship, spearmanship, archery, and so on. Spirits, familiars, golems, and demonic beasts are examples of some advanced summons. This is an ability that allows the summoner to utilize specific categories of summoned beings. The curiosity of what kind of summoner he is gets to Hyuk, and he decides to try his skill out, but nothing happens. He forgot that it doesn't work outside of the tower. That was silly. A player's abilities, including skills, are only effective while inside the tower and cannot be activated outside. Aside from being able to check stats, a player is no different than an ordinary person outside the tower. That's pretty common knowledge. He feels like an idiot for not remembering sooner. Just as he thinks there's no way that an ability would work outside, the random summon actually activates, and a person begins to take shape right in front of him. Hyuk is completely shocked that it worked, but more so by the fact that he summoned a person, who confirms that he is indeed a person. Hyuk is puzzled by how he summoned him outside of the tower, and how he summoned a human. Wasn't he supposed to summon a golem or spirit? The man he summoned takes a huge whiff, and asks if he's eating ramen before asking if he can take a bite. Hyuk agrees, thinking that he summoned a moocher. The man begins slurping on the ramen like there's no tomorrow, thinking that it's extremely spicy, even though this is some mild udon. Anyway, Hyuk is rather confused. How did he activate a skill outside of the tower? He never even heard of a human summon before. He opens the status window. He can summon humans and demon-humans, and they have tiers too, from rare to legendary, special super rare. It seems like there are tiers to this, like pulling for a gacha character. Hyuk is also informed that the summoned abides by 3 principles. The summon must protect their summoner's life above all else. The summon must absolutely obey the summoner's orders, and if the first and second principles conflict, the first one takes precedence. Hyuk thinks that absolute obedience sounds really nice, but who is this guy anyway? Thinking of that, he pulls out a sheet on him. He is the mad assassin of the Cruel Assassin Guild, John Kosach. He is a super rare and can remain summoned for 6 hours, with a 3-hour cooldown. John Kosach was the Cruel Assassins Guild's greatest asset and headache. All this information gets hammered into Hyuk's head instantly, but he also begins to phase out and fall into a vision of Kosach, seeing how he easily takes care of a bunch of men all at once, before putting their decapitated heads into bows. His end came from a single failure. His target was someone much stronger than him, the Empire's strongest swordmaster. As he finishes the vision, Kosach comes behind him and asks what he's thinking of. This makes Hyuk immediately throw himself in the opposite direction, and Kosach apologizes. He was just wondering if he had any orders for him. Hyuk forgot to not be scared, since this summon must obey his orders. He takes a deep breath and tells him to wash the ramen pot and then clean the table, which Kosach immediately does. Hyuk is still impressed, especially since he's not complaining either. He'd imagine someone of his stature definitely would. This guy will really do anything he says, it seems. Just to be safe, he asks if he wouldn't do something absurd, but Kosach just says that he will obey anything he orders. Hyuk tells him to bark for him, as a dog would, and Kosach falls silent, making Hyuk think that he went too far. But suddenly, Kosach begins to prance around and bark like a puppy, making Hyuk give a thumbs up, not really knowing how to feel after seeing a legendary assassin do this. Suddenly though, someone begins hammering down his door, demanding he open right this instant. Hyuk completely forgot that today was supposed to be the day he paid off his interest. As he hides Kosach, he thinks about what happened. He just had to borrow 10 million won, since the banks would not lend him a thing. He was left no choice but to go to a loan shark. It was for his dad's surgery, after he slipped on ice and fractured his hip, and to pay for his younger brother's college tuition. He really had no choice. He thought he would just pay it back quickly, but he hasn't even touched the principal. He's already paid 5 million in interest alone. He knows now it was a stupid thing to do, but what else could he do? There was no other way. He would still make that choice even now. Kosak calls out for him and tells him just to give the order, as he will bring all of their heads. Hyuk pushes him towards the bathroom, telling him to hide in there, to not move a muscle, and keep his mouth shut. Kosak asks if he can breathe at least, and Hyuk agrees. He opens the door, and the loan shark notes that he looks pretty fine. The interest payment hasn't come through yet, so he was worried that he was sick. Hyuk apologizes. He forgot, but he just sent the money. The loan shark tells him not to push this hard. If things get tough, he can always sell an organ, one kidney, and all of his problems would go away. One of the punks notes that he has a younger brother, and the loan shark agrees that it's a good idea. The younger they are, the better they sell. Hyuk stares them down as they say this, and the loan shark asks if he's looking for a beatdown. Hyuk immediately disagrees. He wouldn't dare to. With that, they leave, and Kosak comes out, Hyuk telling him that he did a good job staying silent. He's pretty exhausted at this point. He worked a double shift today, awakened, and summoned a human. Maybe he should also start climbing the tower to get clear of the debt. The money would be nice, but there's no way a coward like him could do anything. Kosak asks what he should do now, and Hyuk asks what he wants to do. If he wants to go back, he can just desummon him. Kosak asks to watch TV as it's been a while. Hyuk doesn't know how he knows about ramen and TVs, but he lets him. That night, as he sleeps and Kosak watches, he thinks that it's not bad to have someone else around. It's almost comforting, like he can sleep better. Until now, he's been working himself to an early grave, so this is nice. With that, he drifts off to sleep and wakes up at 8 a.m., Kosak not being there, probably because of the 6-hour time limit. Anyway, he should forget about awakening and everything and get ready to work. As he does so, he listens to the news, as earlier this morning, in Jongno-gu, at an office of an illegal private lending company called Smile Cash, 3 victims have been found, who have all been decapitated. What is truly shocking about this crime is that the heads of the victims were found decorated with ribbons, meaning the person who did it clearly had an intent. Hyuk knows of only one person who fits that description. It's Kosak. He's not that comforting anymore. He basically summoned a psychopathic murderer and even slept with him in his house. Hyuk searches further to confirm and sees the crime scene pictures. This was clearly Kosak's doing. He thinks that his life is officially over and continues looking into it, hoping for another outcome, but it's clear that this is Kosak's doing. Suddenly a customer comes to the shop, and he begins hallucinating, seeing the head of the loan shark given by his headless corpse. His vision quickens as he sees the head of the other 2, and he recoils back, his mind going into a complete panic. The woman who just wanted to order something asks if he is okay, and he regains his sanity, deeply apologizing for what he has done. After work, he thinks that he cannot continue like this, so he will take a day off from all his jobs tomorrow. His conscience still weighs heavily on his shoulders. Did those people die because of him? After getting home, the temperatures are dropping significantly, and he pulls up the file on Kosak. He really is a mad assassin. He won't dare to harm him, since he's his summoner, but he is still a little scary. He steels himself and summons Kosak again, but before that, the system asks to give a satisfaction rating on him. Hyuk thinks that he was just watching TV, and then goes and murders people without even being told. So for being such a pain, he deserves 1 finger and a star. He would like to be that heartless, but he can't, and that gives him 3 stars. His mother used to be a coordinator for a water purification rental company, so he knows all too well how heartbreaking a low satisfaction rating can be for someone. Even if he is not happy with any product, he never gives 1 star. With that, he summons Kosak, who reports for duty, and thanks him for the 3 stars. He will work even harder to keep him happy. Hyuk wonders if this innocent and cheerful guy really did kill 3 people, and so he decides to ask him, did he kill the people who came yesterday? Kosak confirms as such with the same smile. He took care of them last night. Hyuk has only now realized that he's standing in front of a real murderer. His knees are starting to get a little weak, and his heart is racing. He should calm down though, as he won't hurt him. He asks how, as he couldn't have known where their office is. Kosak explains that he planted a tracker mark on those bastards when they barged into his home. Hyuk guesses that's some kind of skill, and asks why he went so far for him. Kosak notes that he considered them a threat, so it was best to eliminate them in advance. Hyuk refutes this, as he did not order him to, so Kosak explains that the 3rd clause of the 3 principles was put in effect. Simply put, he will obey anything he says, but at the moment that his summoner is in danger, he has to act. Hyuk asks then, if for example, he would order him to kill him, then he couldn't, right? Hozak confirmed as such, and Hyuk notes that there wasn't any immediate danger. Wasn't that his own judgment call? Kosak agrees that the third clause can be interpreted in many ways after all, so it depends entirely on the summoner. From his perspective, those men were threats that would eventually endanger his life, and the talk about selling his kidney didn't help their case at all. Hyuk thinks that's downright psychotic, and apologizes immediately for his words. Hozak says it's fine, he gets that a lot anyway. Hyuk kind of understands, but this could be extremely dangerous in the future. Let's say he's walking down a crowded street with him, and if he accidentally bumps shoulders with some punk, he would probably try to act all intimidating, but they don't really mean it. It's just an empty threat, but depending on Kosak's interpretation of that threat, that could happen again. Seeing him like this, Kosak gets on his knees, noting that it was his fault, but Hugh tells him to get up. He explains that murdering people does not help him. In fact, it will put him in more danger. Kosak notes that nobody would know, and Hyuk tells him that he won't do it again, right? Kosak can't promise it. Hyuk makes him promise that if there's no knife to his throat, physically speaking, he won't do anything, as he can't ask on suspicion. Kosak evades the task, and notes that he will use his best judgment. Hyuk relents and tells him they can go for now, but before doing that, Kosak asks if he has considered climbing the tower. Hyuk shakes a little. He knows that climbing the tower is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but honestly, he's really scared of it. That place is dangerous, and he could die. Hyuk asked if there were other summoners, people who summoned him, as he did. Kosak confirms as much. They were all strong and brave people. Hyuk is kind of ashamed of himself. Some people use their awakened abilities to save the world. Meanwhile, he doesn't have an ounce of courage, let alone risk his life. Hyuk admits it to himself once again. He is a pathetic coward, but Kosak thinks he's the greatest summoner of all. What is a summoner's virtue above all? It's safety, naturally. Bravery is a poison. A brave summoner is a dangerous one. He never knows when he might die, and if he does, they can't come outside anymore. He shouldn't worry. He will handle all the dirty work while he lies low and lives a long, long life. Hyuk couldn't sleep well after that. He was too busy worrying about whether or not he should climb the tower. But who is he to do that? He should be grateful that his debt disappeared along with the debt collectors. As unfortunate as their deaths were, it probably helped a lot of people they had in their grasp. For now, he will just work a safe, normal job, and if he works hard enough, he should be fine. Suddenly, he gets a call from his dad, who announces that he has to transfer to a bigger hospital to keep him in rehab, and what's more, his mother got fired. He shouldn't worry much though. He called because he hasn't heard from him in a while. Hyuk notes that he will visit soon, and then they can share a meal. After a bit of talking, he closes the call and immediately equips the full safety manager set. He wants to go to the first floor. If anything dangerous happens, he can leave. Since he doesn't have any jobs to do today, it lines up. Before he summons Kosak, though, he should try summoning someone else, as maybe they will pull a legendary. He cannot do that though, as it has a cooldown of an entire month. In the end, he is forced to summon Kosak, who is happy to be of service. Hyuk hopes that he doesn't know he tried summoning someone else, and notes that he has decided to venture into the tower, which Kosak finds brave, but he shouldn't be brave. Hyuk notes that he will just get a taste and get out, and Kosak throws away his equipment, as he will be his guide once inside. He will make sure he is safe and comfortable the whole time. He wouldn't even need to lift a finger. With that, they get going, and Hyuk begins falling through the floor as he is transported. Hyuk continues falling through the floor, and eventually lands in a sandy place. It appears the first floor is a complete wasteland. Before anything though, he vomits up his lunch, clearly not used to falling long distances. After that, they go outside of the safe zone, and Hyuk gets enhancements matching his level, making traits and combat skills available. Hyuk feels pretty strong immediately. This is the power of the player after all. The first floor mission is to kill 5 tough-skinned fat maggots. It's basically a place to test one's skills. The tough-skinned maggots are basically scarecrows, put there to gauge what players can do. Even though they deal basically 0 damage, their skin is very tough, which makes them quite hard to kill. They say some players can only kill 1 every 30 minutes, but he's also a player now. He walks forward, determined to take down the first one, but Kosak notes that he needn't go through the trouble. He approaches a maggot, but then turns his back, as he forgot to borrow a weapon. At that moment, the maggot ascends into the air and prepares to crush him. Hyuk turns his head toward it and asks Kosak for help, who notes that this is a very wise decision. Almost immediately, he flies toward the maggot and kills it with 1 punch, before dashing through the others, making them fly in the air before throwing a bunch of knives. Lastly, he activates Blade Burst and make them explode. staying with his back at them, as don't forget, cool guys don't look at explosions. Hyuk is amazed, and he gains a 100-gram mana stone and achieved SS rank on the first floor, meaning that he also gets a platinum badge. Hyuk thinks this is very easy. If he keeps going like this, he will be rich in no time. He didn't know this at that time, but at the same time, every single player in Korea, no matter where they were, received the same announcement. After getting back to his apartment, Hyuk is told that he can now challenge the second floor. He's surprised it only took 5 minutes, and Kosak notes that this was a job well done. Hyuk feels like he just stood there and did nothing, but Kosak notes that's exactly what he ought to do. Hyuk heard that to kill monsters, one has to completely exhaust oneself, and it takes forever to do so, but that was rather easy. He looks at his rewards, the mana stone and the badge, and picks up the mana stone. These things are an indispensable resource in the modern industry, and since their price dropped a lot since the tower appeared, it only costs around 50,000 won per 100 gram. Most people know these basic facts about the tower. However, he had never heard of a platinum badge before. Anyway, he got some money in 3 minutes. To celebrate, he prepares a feast, and Kosak takes its smell and thinking that it's spicy jockball, but it's only regular, since Hyuk knows he cannot handle spice. Kosak digs in and thanks his summoner for his kindness. Hyuk tells him that he doesn't need to be so formal with him, and asks if this is how he usually talks. Kosak chalks it up to the influence of his previous summoner, as they spent quite a lot of time together. Hyuk smiles. This is like the influence of his former partner, although in this case, the influence of his former summoner. Kosak notes that he can stop if he wants to, but Hyuk says it's fine. This guy really is not dangerous to him at all, and he's also confirmed that the tower is doable. The next morning, Hyuk creates a daily routine. He works at the convenience store during the day, and then at the charcoal barbecue spot at night. He decided to quit being a day laborer. Instead, he comes home and climbs the tower with Kosak. He summons him, and he's happy to receive another perfect score, although Hyuk would wish to give him a 10 out of 10 at this point. He also explains why he's so excited to get a good score. Is it that important? Kosak explains that the better the rating, the more benefits he gets. For example, if the summon time summoned or rank increased, it goes without saying that he would get more summons too. They go to the second floor with that, where they now have to defeat 10 nimble fat maggots, with a limit of 2 hours. Hyuk knows about these guys. They are tricky because they move around so much. He tells Kosak to be careful, as he might die if he goes all out here, but Kosak doesn't think so. This will take 3 minutes at most. He will finish this quickly and have him escorted home. As he jumps in, Hyuk asks if they should get some chicken tonight, and Kosak agrees, thanking him before eliminating the maggots with extreme ease. This is really insane. He is getting reward after reward, and they are getting bigger too. With the second floor completed, Hyuk gains a level up and a 200-gram mana stone and another platinum badge, thanks to achieving S++ rank. Hyuk wonders if it really is okay for this to be that easy, as this is fast, way too fast. With this, he can pop in and out before his morning shift too. Sure enough, he gets to do it again, Kosak noting that his landing is getting better, but it's still a little low. The third floor grants him a 300-gram mana stone, and sure enough, another platinum badge. It goes the same for the fourth floor, and the same for the fifth floor. With this, Hyuk has accumulated 5 platinum badges, and he is awarded a perk as a reward. Hyuk wonders what that may be, and he soon finds it. He gains the awakening trait enhancement, its effect increasing the number of player summons he can have by 2. Hyuk is surprised. He can now bring another summon with him, but Kosak is already doing just fine. It seems that the S++ clear rewards are very good. Seeing as how the difficulty of the tower will continue to rise, this will be a lot safer now. To use random summon again, has to wait 20 more days, so he should survive carefully until then. After that, the 2 summons he has will keep clearing at the highest rank, but he will continue climbing. At the Korean Awakening Management Department, a meeting is taking place, but the people are all pretty silent. One wonders when he should post that today, sometime in the morning or evening. Suddenly a woman closes in on him and asks if he's thinking about the announcement, causing him to jump. The man is John Gwang-il, the team leader, and the woman is Lee Mina, the manager. He asks if the new announcement has been posted, and she confirms as such. It's an S++ rank clear on the 6th floor of the Black Tower. John can't believe this happened again. The Black Tower full of announcements is being posted one after another lately. News about an unbelievable S++ clear. It is almost definitely the work of a single person, since they are clearing the floors in order. It is probably someone unprecedented in their time who possesses incredible talent. If they clear the 7th, 8th, and 9th, even 10th floors with S++, what will happen? The other man there slams the table. He is Park Kyung-soo, director. As they already know, the highest rank ever recorded in this country was A. They only just learned that there were ranks beyond that, and that full announcements are posted when S++ is achieved. Player migration has also become prevalent in the international community, and kidnappings are even taking place in secret. Before they risk losing that person to another country, they must find the player. 2 days later, as Kosak does the dishes, Hyuk asks if they are on the 8th floor today, and he confirms as such. Hyuk is happy, but the first 10 floors are just a beginner zone, so it makes sense that everything is easy. After a bit, they go to the 8th floor, where they have to defeat 10 red thorn frog warriors, beings much more dangerous than the worms. However, they don't stand a chance against Kosak, who cuts them up into bits and pieces. Hyuk is awarded an 800G mana stone, a level up, and another platinum badge, with Kosak congratulating him after they get back. Hyuk feels kind of bad because he did nothing, but Kosak notices that just entering the tower is enough, although he shouldn't let his guard down, as the later levels after the 10th floor are dangerous. Hyuk thinks he should reward Kosak for clearing in 3 minutes, so he gives him some money to go and have some fun, as there's still time left before his materialization. Kosak refuses, as he cannot leave his side. He will just watch TV or something. Hyuk is surprised this goes past absolute obedience, and asks if he wants to order some chicken, which Kosak immediately gets to doing. Hyuk also got a tower-exclusive healing potion, which he should give to Kosak. What should he do with the mana stones, though? He already has 3.6 kilograms or 7.9 pounds in his inventory. That's a total of 1.8 million won if he sells them, so he should think of cashing them in soon. On day 10, just when he's about to raid the 10th floor, Hyuk is surprised by himself. He thought he would just dip a little in the tower, but they've been diligently clearing all day. Yesterday, even raiding the 9th floor was a breeze. Clearing the floor is a given, but the S++ clear reward is the bonus he wants. This is quite reassuring, especially Kosak, who Hyuk basically forgot is a crazed assassin. He summons Kosak, and due to his giving maximum scores, his summon time has increased by 1 hour, which Hyuk will be counting on in the future. As they enter the 10th floor, Hyuk can really feel it, the tower's readjustment of his physical skill, the overflowing power and mysterious magic he feels in his abdomen. Has he, Bong Joohyuk, become an untamable stallion? He grabs Kosak's shoulder and notes that from now on, he will help too, but Kosak disagrees. If by some wild chance he gets a scratch, he would have to pay for it. Hyuk tells him not to worry, as he is already a wild horse. But that's when the enemy of this area appears before them, making Hyuk get out of his cosplay. He wonders how the other players even caught something like that. Hyuk makes up an excuse, noting that if they both charge at some bugs, it would hurt their pride, so he should go first. The mantis attacks Kosak, who dodges and begins climbing it, before striking the beast down. After exiting the tower, Hyuk looks at his rewards, a 1 kilogram or 2 pound mana stone, and with this final platinum badge, he gains a new perk too. He excitedly waits to see what it is, and it's revealed to be a copy skill from his summon. Seeing this, Kosak suggests he should learn Shadow Step. No questions, no arguments. Hyuk is inclined to ask why, and Kosak notes that it's convenient for running away. Even if something happens to him, he can escape quickly. Hyuk's pride is kind of hurt. Run away? Just what kind of person does he think he is? He immediately learns Shadow Step, as a quick foot is indeed important in combat, including footwork and such. He goes outside to try it, but it doesn't seem to be working that well, making Hyuk kinda mad. On the 11th day of tower climbing, he sheepishly makes a call to the Awakening Management Department Center to announce that he had an awakening. The person on the phone congratulates him and asks if they should send some government representatives to his house to guide him. Before Hyuk can even agree, the person notes that they will be there as soon as possible. He made this decision because he wanted to sell his mana stones, and it was the most courageous move he had made in his 25 years of life. As Lee gets in a car, John asks how the awakened individual who contacted them from Daegu says, but she denies being the S++ person. They do have another awakening application today. Would he want to come along? He agrees, as they need to get out there and try to find that person. If they find them, they will bring them to the elite team. No matter what, they will shower them with every benefit the awakening department manager can offer. Hyuk diligently cleans up his house, and just in time, as the people from the awakening department are here, he invites them inside, John introducing himself and Lee as they enter. Hyuk is even more nervous now that a woman is involved, and suddenly, she approaches him, noting that he is the S++ person, isn't he? Hyuk immediately recoils back and wonders what is going on. Is there some awakened detection method he hasn't heard of yet? First, he has to deny it though, so he should act as naturally as possible. He immediately acts as unnatural as possible, noting that he heard of it, but it's definitely not him. Lee looks at him, noting that he looks like the textbook definition of a liar, and Jong tries to slap her head, but she dodges, as she should not push people like that. They both apologize, and Hyuk says it's fine. They all sit down, and they pull up a video, with Tavid, the mascot of Korea's Black Tower, introducing itself as a guide to the tower. It is jet black and ominous, with an overwhelming size that dwarfs any human structure. The Black Tower. 20 years ago, the Black Tower appeared overnight. Countries mobilized armies, and scientists tried to uncover its secrets, but none could get close, because the tower was seemingly blocked by an invisible barrier. So then, what exactly is this tower? That question was answered with the appearance of players. It's basically a game, where one can advance through floors. Outside, players are regular people, but inside the tower, they can wield powerful abilities. They upgrade equipment with various rewards earned in the tower and contribute to the economy. If the tower's new upper floors are not climbed within 6 months, a countdown begins, and at the end, the tower collapses. That's how the city of Mumbai disappeared 3 years ago. Each country is known to have 1 to 3 black towers, and South Korea only has 1. There are an estimated 5 to 10,000 players, making 0.01% of the population. Even so, Korea is making steady progress, just behind America, so the heroes of their society are protecting them and learning from the Black Tower. After a bit more exposition, they close the laptop, with Jong noting that now, they would like to ask a few questions as part of the verification process. They ask if he is truly awakened, and Hyuk confirms it as such, giving out some of his mana stones as proof. They ask which floor he reached, and he says 10th, making the two think that he's the S++. Lee asks if he's heard about the public announcement that's been trending, and he agrees, sounding once again like a robot. Jong definitely thinks he's sussy, and begins explaining the terms of the contract. The government manages players into 2 groups, the elite team, and the second is the general team. The general team consists of individuals who plan and execute dungeon raids independently, basically freelancers. On the other hand, elite individuals maintain a much closer relationship with the government's Awakening Management Department. They are obligated to attempt high-level clears, but in return, they get benefits, one of which is personal protection outside the tower. Hearing all of this, Hyuk knows that if he reveals he's the S++ player, he will get bombarded with attention, something he hates with a passion. As Jong explains the terms of the elite team registration, Hyuk notes that he doesn't want to apply to that. He's happy with the general team. He doesn't have any talent, and it's scary. He's fine with getting reasonable rewards. Seeing this, Lee thinks they hit another dead end. There are quite a few who just want to stop at a certain point and enjoy the safe hunts. But this is the first time she's seen someone be so blatant about it. Someone so ungrateful does not deserve it. Even if he had volunteered for the elite team, he's the type they would not accept, because the most important quality there is the will to climb. Jong respects his decision, but he should enter the tower for a bit, as they need to confirm his awakening. It would be a waste to throw away his one chance to enter, so why doesn't he clear the floor too? Hyuk knows he's testing him, and agrees, but notes that it would take him close to 2 hours. Lee tells him that it's their job, so he shouldn't worry and take his time. Hyuk dresses up and tells them to get comfortable, as he will be off. With that, he disappears, confirming he is a player, but Jong asks Lee what she thinks of him. She notes that he seems way too timid. His speech and actions are subdued, and he will probably give up on the 11th floor. She's cleared it before, and it certainly tests a player's fear. The long-tailed giant centipedes are particularly difficult beasts, but even then, one has to defeat hundreds of them. He will probably give up and head back to the safe zone, and Jong believes her. He should call the chief and say they have another remiss. Hyuk summons Kosak, who reports for duty, and he reads the mission, absolutely hating the idea of centipedes. Kozak notes that this is a 5-minute job, but Hyuk wants him to kill them as slowly as possible, over an hour, so it won't be recorded as an S++. He has people outside who are watching, so he will take him to the tower today too. He only needs to show them that he entered, but the group decided to do a full clear, so he will completely escape the S++ allegations with this. Kosak instantly one-shots one, making Hyuk tell him to go slower, and he does, making it take a lot longer, but suddenly, one of the centipedes arises from the ground straight below Hyuk. With that, he gets assaulted by centipedes, and Kosak, fearing for his master's life, jumps in, eliminates them with extreme ease, and goes out of his way to kill a ton more. Hyuk tells him to go slower, but Kosak must also follow safety guidelines, and soon enough, he clears the dungeon with an S++ rank. They immediately get booted out of the dungeon, and the two in his apartment get informed that the 11th floor was cleared with an S++ rank. This is undeniable proof. The one before them is the one they were looking for. Hyuk really did not want to do this, but they had to be silenced. Before he can tell Kosak to tie them up, he charges in and decapitates them, immediately putting them in bows. Hyuk thinks that this would happen. He's become drenched just by thinking of it. Jong reiterates, noting that their elite team needs a man of his talent. Hyuk tries to fake it, noting that this must be a misunderstanding. His runs must have overlapped with another player's. Jong says otherwise as they checked, but Hyuk continues to keep going with that story. Jong understands, and now that they have confirmed he is awakened, they should get his contract ready. Hyuk reads it and sees that this is an elite contract. He specifically asked for a standard one. Jong says he's right. This is on a completely different level. It's the only ultra-elite contract. He will have an annual salary of 12 billion won, provided with real estate and security, and on top of that, legal immunity. Hyuk thinks this is basically being like royalty. Jong explains that only one person has these benefits, the first-ranked player in Korea, Yoo Chil-min. This will also benefit their country, so he should think about it. Hyuk denies it. He will not be a player unless he's given a regular contract. Jong asks why he's so opposed to it, but Hyuk just doesn't like getting attention. It's a burden. Too much attention is extremely stressful. It makes his chest tighten. In other words, he's an extreme introvert. Jong thinks it's best to back down for now, and notes that in this case, they will give him a standard contract. Hyuk knows anyone watching this would find it frustrating. Why not just sign the elite contract and get all the benefits? However, that contract comes with a ton of responsibility. Even if he wants to quit climbing later on, he won't be able to. He doesn't need this kind of pressure in his life, so he will pass on it. He's happy about just making a living like he was previously. At the awakening department, the chief tells John that what he said is completely different from his interim report. Did he not say on the phone that he was a timid player with no desire to climb? Is that the same person who achieved an S++ ranking? Jong confirms as such. It seems that his personality is just rather unique. He is the type of ordinary citizen one rarely sees. The chief asks if there's a chance they are mistaken, but Lee thinks that's impossible. The timing matches up way too perfectly. The chief doesn't care that he's timid. He has amazing talent, so they will have to get him on the elite team, no matter what they have to give. Back at Hyuk's place, he berates Kosak. He is extremely angry. It's all been exposed because of him. If he does that one more time, he will undo him in an instant. They go to the 12th floor, where they have to kill 20 icicle weasels. Hyuk tells Kosak to do it slowly and thinks he can trust him this time. If they clear it normally, the department will lose interest, and he will be left alone, hopefully. However, it's also extremely cold in this place. Even though he prepared, it's still cold, so he will just bear with it. Seeing his face, Kosak thinks he's in immense pain from the cold, so he will finish this as quickly as possible to get him to a warm room. He immediately charges in and eliminates the weasels without a problem, making Hyuk get another S++ reward. He immediately gets a call from Jong, and after he is done, he immediately unsummons Kosak, as there is no soup for those who do not obey. The next day on the 13th floor, the only mission is to pass through a bunch of traps, and since his master would get hurt if he goes alone, Kosak picks Hyuk up and runs towards the finish with him, clearing the floor in record time. On the 14th floor, the bats have AoE sonic attacks, so Kosak eliminates them quickly so as not get Hyuk injured. At this point, he doesn't even care anymore, and since he made 2 million from mana stones and 2 million from general player support, adding what he made from 11th to the 14th floors, he made about 7 million won in 2 weeks. If he keeps it up and reaches the 20th floor without issue, the mana stones he gets as a reward will weigh a lot more. And if he gets awakening management to handle sales, that's 1 million per day, with no taxes, meaning that he will be crazy rich. The next day, Kosak immediately bows as he is summoned, as he was still granted a 5-star, even though he committed sin after sin of disobeying his orders. Hyuk tells him to relax on the 15th floor onwards, as he won't need to take it slow anymore. It's all out in the open as it is, and if he gets the S++ on the 15th floor, he will make it to 15 platinum badges, meaning that he can get another one of those special perks. He is starting to get a bit greedy, but the more perks he stacks, the safer he will be after all. Within that, they get going to the 15th floor, where they have to eliminate 20 goblin workers. This is Hyuk's first time seeing humanoid monsters. They are not as strong but have some amount of intelligence. Starting floors and clearing them will be quite annoying, even with enough info. Kosak notes that if even one manages to escape, the others will be called here. These creatures are cunning, so he should hide really well, as he will be eliminating all of them at once. Kosak uses his stealth skill and immediately gets rid of them, without the beasts even noticing that they are dead. With that, the floor is cleared, and Hyuk immediately opens up his inventory. That makes a total of 15 platinum badges, and since he has accumulated so many, he gets another perk. When he collected 5 badges, he got a perk that upgraded his trait. When he got 10, he received a perk that allowed him to copy a skill from his summon. So what will it be this time? The reward this time is an energy barrier kit, which has the effect of protecting the user with a damage-absorbing barrier, with a limitation of a certain amount of damage and a cooldown of 5 hours. Hyuk uses it and notices it's a full set of body armor, and since it's not labeled as tower exclusive, he can use it outside of it too. He wonders how much he can sell this for. Maybe 3 or 4 billion. Maybe he should just sell it and quit the tower. However, there might be better rewards if he climbs higher. So he asks Cossack if they can clear floor 16 with an S++, and he thinks it's possible, but they have to be careful, and there's no guarantee either. Hyuk is surprised to learn that, and wonders what he should do. Back at the player department, the chief asks Jong and Lee how long it's been since the S++ clear record has been updated. They announce that it's been 15 days, and they are apparently stuck on floor 15. The chief notes that heaven is really cruel. Why was such talent handed over to such a timid person? Jong notes that the difficulty increases greatly from floor 16 onward, but he hasn't given up on clearing it, so they should wait a little longer. As he says that, he gets informed that Hyuk is coming to the Awakening Management Department, wanting to use the player shop. Now the chief finally understands. He's been repeating floors to raise funds to purchase items. Jong thinks so too. He was empty-handed when they first visited him. The chief calls himself a fool. He was about to criticize Hyuk without even realizing it. When he arrives, they will support him with whatever items he wants at a generous price. 15 days ago, Hyuk asked Cossack something he absolutely hated, to be stabbed with the dagger. Cossack asks why he is doing this to him. If he doesn't like him, he could just kill him. Hyuk just wanted to see if the energy barrier was working properly, and wondered why he was making so much of a fuss over a little stab. Cossack refused and refused, but in that refusal, Hyuk stabbed himself with his hand. Unfortunately, he forgot to turn on the barrier, so he heals himself, and Cossack wanted to cut off the evil arm that dared to do such a thing. He made Hyuk promise that he won't do that again, and he confirmed as such, letting him go back to hunting. As he looked at him, Hyuk thought that his hunt would end in 10 minutes, no matter how long it is. He should at least practice his skills in the meantime, right? He uses Shadow Step and rushes forward instantly. He didn't expect it to feel like this, but he now gets why Cossack recommended it. He can move around, free as a bird. Suddenly, he happened upon a goblin, which was probably hiding from Cossack. Seeing Hyuk, it charged in, and the barrier protected him from the first attack, allowing Hyuk to kick the beast away. Seeing this, Cossack cut the goblin in two, and noted that this was a nice pass, but then realized what happened and rushed to Hyuk's side. He asked if he was okay. Why did he fight a goblin out of nowhere? He told him time and time again, even with his powers, he must not be foolish and endanger himself. Hyuk covered his ears and noted that he would be more careful. After defeating the 15th floor for 2 weeks, Hyuk became accustomed to his skills, and the mana stones he accumulated totaled 11 million won. He calls Jong, asking if it's alright to come to the player shop now, and he agreed. In fact, he would send someone to pick him up right away. Hyuk notes he can come himself, but Jong insists, so he decided to wait. After arriving at the department in a limousine, Jong welcomes him at the entrance. Hyuk bowed down too, and thought that even if he's a normal contract, they are giving him the VIP treatment. They go to the shop, where Hyuk successfully registers his information, and Jong explains that from now on, he can come anytime without calling. Would he like to show him around though? Hyuk denies this offer. He just wants to look around himself. After that, he enters the player shop, which seems extremely luxurious, but there's not a single customer. Perhaps the items are way too expensive. So first things first, he should sell those mana stones. He does that, with the clerk noting that 11 million won will be in his account within 3 days, and Hyuk asks if he can use it here now, and he can. He immediately becomes socially drained after this conversation, and thinks of buying something quickly before heading home. The chief asks Jong if Hyuk entered without issue, and he confirms as such as he's browsing as they speak, and they told other players the shop is closed today. He also told the staff to give him a 90% discount, because he's timid, and giving it out for free might make him uncomfortable. Later, Hyuk comes forward with his purchase, an adamant mace, which was 2 million won, and basilisk leather boots, which were 3 million. He heard the prices were around 20 to 30 million, and since Jong came out to greet him personally, no matter how he spins it, he definitely is getting special treatment. Although these items are nice, he's only used these boots as armor because of the energy barrier, a piece of armor that unifies all defense. This is all thanks to his perks, and he decided not to be greedy when he started climbing, although these perks are extremely tempting. The next day, he summons Cossack, who asks if they are repeating floor 15, but Hyuk actually wants to advance, as the summon cooldown is finally over, meaning he can summon one more. As he does, he begins saying every prayer known to man, and his summon slowly begins to take shape, but it grows and grows until his head is through his ceiling. Just what could he have summoned? The summon begins to take shape fully, and he slowly pulls his head out of the ceiling, making Hyuk wonder if he's a human or a monster. Kosak immediately jumps in with a jumping kick, asking why he, of all people, is here. Whose life is he here to ruin? Hyuk wonders if they know each other, and the barbarian notes that his attacks tickle. Kosak wonders if he will say the same thing after he takes his head. He will even put on a pretty ribbon. Hyuk intervenes, making Kosak stop, as one broken ceiling is enough. He tells him to step aside for a moment, as he needs to talk with their new guest. Kosak notes this is not necessary. This guy is infamous. He's known for being an idiot, and he probably doesn't even know the principles of the summoned. The barbarian notes that he studied them. It's summoner obedience, or was that absolute life? Second is understanding value, then conflict. Kosak knew he was a dud. They needed to kill him so that he couldn't be summoned for 100 days. Hyuk pulls up his tab. He's the dull barbarian meat shield of the Great Plains tribe, with an R rank, the lowest possible, which is disappointing. Should he wait a month to pull again? He begins grilling the barbarian, asking his name, which he forgot, if he knows why he is here, which he doesn't, and if he knows about the tower, which he doesn't. Hyuk thinks he will just read the description, but that's when he gets pulled back into the barbarian's memories. He sees him in the plains, frolicking around butterflies. He is a pure being who found happiness simply by living with nature. However, his purity aside, his physical abilities were also amazing. He was too dim-witted to the point where he even forgot his own name. Deceived by a false hero, the barbarian warrior was set up as a meat shield against the archfiend Hydra. Using his powerful body and only that, he withstood the Hydra's breath and fought valiantly, tearing off its heads one after another, unaware that his own skin was melting away, all for the sole purpose of protecting his comrades. In the end, he met his demise because of the accumulated acid breath, and his comrades were all glad for it. Hyuk now knows why he was called a meat shield. He also knows that he won't turn him away no matter what, so he welcomes him, noting that they will climb together. They should start with his name first. Does he prefer barber or a meatball? He doesn't know, so Hyuk tells him to pick, so he picks a meatball. Hyuk tells him not to worry, he will make him happy, and Meatball trusts him. He's his summoner after all. With this, they are all comrades, so they should work together. Kosak is not happy at first, but then finishes computing, and now understands, this guy is a reliable meat shield, and he will teach him how to use him as such. As Kosak attempts to guide him, Hyuk thinks of their team, a timid player, a mad assassin, and a simple-minded barbarian. It's pretty weird, but he will make it work no matter what. On the 16th floor, they have to eliminate 30 goblin scouts, and Kosak advises Hugh to activate his energy barrier and be ready to use Shadow Step at any point. These goblins shoot poison darts, so they do not know when they will appear. Sure enough, they are hiding among the trees, and one of them shoots a swift dart at Hyuk, with Kosak barely able to capture it. This gives out the signal for the other goblins to attack, and Kosak blocks the incoming strikes as Hyuk goes into cover. Judging by the number of projectiles, there are way more than 50 goblins here, so he tells Meatball to get in front and block them. Hearing this, Meatball launches himself in the air, and as he falls, the goblins who are attacking Kosak begin to retreat, but his landing puts all of them in the air, including Kosak. Hyuk watches with great interest, and the ranged goblins begin shooting at him, but the darts cannot go through his thick skin. With that, Meatball charges in, wiping them all out. Hyuk is shocked. How is he only an R rank? When they go back, Hyuk rewards him with a bunch of chicken, which he really enjoys. Kosak bickers with him because he calls chicken kitchen, and Meatball notes he looks like a fool, with Hyuk telling them to get along. Suddenly, Meatball calls him a good person. Since he fed him kitchen, he will give life. Hyuk blushes, noting that this is nothing compared to what they do. He should be the one asking them for help. Suddenly, Kosak punches him in the face, and Hyuk immediately scolds him, asking why he's bothering him when he's just eating. Kosak noted that he just thought he needed some education. The next day, they go to the 17th floor, giving Hyuk another physical boost. He feels even stronger, his heart racing once again. Is the wild horse within him awakening once more? As he tries to hype him up, Kosak notices that level 20 is the perfect level to get complacent, so he will take the lead, with Meatball confirming that he will protect him no matter what. Their mission now is to eliminate 30 goblin warriors, and Hyuk did not realize when he watched the other players walk through videos, but seeing them in person is quite intimidating. There are at least 90 goblins here. As monsters, they are pretty skilled in strategy and tactics. The guide he watched before entering advised that when they appeared, they should retreat to the safe zone. When they came back after waiting for a bit, their forces would have naturally scattered, and they would patrol in groups of 3. They have to lure and kill 3 at a time without drawing more aggro, and repeat until success, which will take quite a bit of time. Instead, Hyuk calls Meatball and tells him to go. With only that command, Meatball charges up his power, as he knows his master wants these beasts dead. As he charges in, the goblins put up their shields and spears, but Meatball easily passes through all of them, Hyuk thinking that he is performing amazingly. Strategy and tactics only work when the weight classes are similar. This is like 1,000-foot soldiers trying to attack a tank. With that, they clear the floor within minutes, and Cossack, seeing only Meatball being used, feels a little hurt. On the 18th floor, where they have to eliminate 30 goblin assassins, Hyuk sends out Meatball once again, but the goblins use their stealth skill and get out of his way before they can be grabbed. Meatball becomes infuriated and begins throwing his hands around to catch them, but this makes Cossack laugh. He has suffered enough watching that ignorant bastard strategy. He will purify his sight with a classy strategy. He enters his own stealth skill and takes out the goblins one after another with extreme ease. Unfortunately for him, this was all part of Hyuk's plan, as Cossack is anxious because he's not using him as much, and with this, he has stimulated his competitive spirit. He's doing this to maximize the badges he earns. He needs those sweet perks after all, and he's also around level 18. It's time for his wild horse heart to ascend. He checked all the strategy info before starting this floor. The goblin assassin's stealth is low level, so if one concentrates, they can detect their movements. There is nothing to be afraid of anymore. He practiced shadow step enough. He actually manages to get behind a goblin, but he loses his balance, managing to hit the goblin much harder than he wanted to. Hyuk thinks it's fine, but suddenly, another goblin assassin descends on him, his blade already at his head. Cossack continues taking down one goblin after another, with Meatball also deflecting any incoming strikes while spinning around. Cossack, in his trying to show he's better, completely forgot about Hyuk and wonders where he is. Fortunately, he was protected by the barrier. He definitely would have died without it. As another assassin pops up and they attack at once, Hyuk locks in. It's probably because of the adrenaline, but the movement of their blades has become rather slow. It feels like the entire world has slowed down, and he is faster than them. With this kill, they clear the floor. Hyuk is glad that he actually got the last hit, but Cossack is in tears in front of him, glad to see that he's actually alive. The global announcement is instantly posted, and the chief is very glad for it. Jong believing the items he bought really helped. The chief would like to reveal immediately that the record held for Korea's 18 consecutive S++ clears is this person. Jong notes that now, Hyuk is a super special player they need to care for even more delicately. The news about someone clearing 18 consecutive S++ ranks eventually gets spread around. This is an unprecedented record. History is being written as they speak, and the mysterious player who did all this is currently estimated to be level 19. Cossack sighs deeply after hearing this, and Hyuk tells him to say it if he has something to say. Cossack just believes that the speed at which he's realizing his talent is too fast. Hyuk is confused. Him and talent in the same sentence. He must be joking. Cossack thinks it's no joke. The shadow step that he showed at the end, it was a perfect movement that even he would struggle to mimic, which makes it a ton more dangerous. He tells Hyuk that it's the truth. He will start finding combat fun, and then he will gain confidence. With confidence comes bravery, and that's extremely dangerous. They made a promise from the start, did they not? Safety first. Hyuk agrees. He absolutely won't do anything dangerous, and just go for one mob at most. Cossack still feels uneasy, as something is telling him that he will definitely cause an accident someday. Meatball calls him a moron for crying, and Cossack kicks him right in Hyuk's fridge, who immediately desummons them. But the damage has been done. His mother's kimchi is on the floor. Tomorrow, to clear his head a bit, he will pay a visit to his parents. He does just that, and they invite him inside. His bedridden father notes he should visit more often since he's close, but the mother tells him to stop nagging. Hyuk asks how his hip is, and he notes that bones don't heal easily. He spent most of the day like this. They go to the table to eat the mother's stew, and she announces that his brother will also be here soon. He went to buy tofu. As they eat, Hyuk asks if things are rough these days, but his mother tells him not to worry. He will find work again soon, and his father tells him to live his life and not worry about them. To test the waters, Hyuk notes that it would be nice if he awakened at a time like this, but his father immediately thinks of it as a joke. A guy that looks like him entering the tower? He's the type of guy who asks a woman to catch cockroaches for him. She notes that's not something to be proud of, and asks Hugh if he doesn't have work today. He says that it's his off day, even though he quit everything a while ago. His mother sees him lying, but even so, she trusts him. He shouldn't use loan sharks though. That's a big no-no. Hyuk almost forgot about that whole ordeal and changed the subject, asking what happened to her job. She explains that it was because of a rude customer who went to fix a water purifier, and they asked her to clean up all their recycling and food waste too, and she couldn't stand that disrespect. Hyuk thinks that his mother is aggressive and brave, a personality that cannot stand injustice. His father, who fell head over heels for her, is a complete beta male. Thus, he spawned 2 other betas. He's certain everyone must be worried, so he will talk about awakening after the situation settles down. After going out with his brother, he gives him the allowance for their parents, so that they don't overwork themselves. His brother tells him to wait, and sheepishly tries to say something. Hyuk, thinking that he's shy because he paid for his tuition, and notes that he knows how he feels. His brother's happy to hear this, as this allowance is for their parents, but something is missing: his share. Hyuk is about to throw him away, but gives him 500,000 won. After that, he goes to the Awakening Management Department. He did so on a whim. After seeing his family, the thought of doing this properly grew even bigger. He didn't contact Jong, as he was instructed, but he should be fine. He does have that energy barrier, but the monsters will only get stronger, so he was thinking of buying a shield. The one he was looking for is 100 million won, and since it's a female employee, he can't ask anything properly. Why are there so many people around? Instead, she offers a round hand shield made of adamantium. It's small and light, and it even has a self-repair function. Hyuk thinks that this suits him really well, combined with the mace. He goes ahead and buys it. Honestly, talking to the staff members is more challenging than dealing with goblins. He decides to go home, but someone speaks with him, noting that he probably hasn't awakened for long. He introduces himself as Choi Hoseok. He comes to this place every day, so he wanted to get acquainted with him since he hadn't seen him around. If it's not rude, what floor is he on, as he's currently climbing the 30s. Hyuk says that he's in the 10s, and Choi tells him to ask anything if he has trouble. Hyuk notes there's nothing, and Choi tells him to come anytime and ask if he's in trouble. As he leaves, Hyuk thinks he's quite the extrovert. He probably has a girlfriend too, and he's envious. After getting home, he checks his level, which is 19. He's happy, as now he can challenge the 19th floor. But before that, he should call Kosak and reach an agreement. Upon summoning him, Kosak's face immediately contorts as he sees Hyuk with the shield in hand. Does he have to do this? Hyuk thinks he will prioritize safety, and Kosak notes that the previous summoner said so as well. Hyuk knows he's a wimp, so he will just run away. Kosak makes him promise not to take the lead and charge in. If this get wrought, he should sacrifice his summons, preferably Meatball first, since he's bigger. Before Kosak can say anything more, he smells something divine, and Hyuk notes he bought king dumplings for them. Kosak is touched that he is feeding him before Meatball, but before he can dig in, he stops and asks Hyuk if there's anyone he has a grudge against. Hyuk says no, but then Kosak doesn't get it. Why is there someone outside with an overflowing killing intent? Hyuk immediately tells Kosak to hide, and he activates his barrier, right before the door is blown open by none other than Choi, who is mad that he had a hard time following such a loser. Hyuk tries to ask what is happening, but Choi tells him that he did not permit him to speak. He will take off his bracelet and open his inventory before he fills him with lead. Hyuk is scared, really scared, not for his life, but for Choi's life. Choi thinks he froze up because he's holding a gun. He picks some good prey this time too. Before he can knock Hyuk out, Kosak smashes the hilt of his blade into his head, making Choi immediately fall unconscious. Hyuk is extremely happy that he didn't kill him. He was worried he would decapitate and put his head in a bowl again. Anyway, this guy is probably an item broker, who, outside of the tower, kills players and steals their items. He has heard of them, and now understands why Jong was so adamant about protection. If he couldn't summon stuff outside of the tower, he would have been dead right now. Truly, this is a cheat ability. Kosak wants to carry him away and get rid of him, but Hyuk tells him to wait for the police. At the department, the chief gets informed that Hyuk went shopping again, without any of them knowing at first. He bought a small buckler. They don't know his traits just yet, but judging by his purchase of a mace and shield, he's probably a melee type. The chief thinks that not even a full set is enough, and Jong thinks of making up an excuse to give him more, but he suddenly gets a call from the police player task force. He is immediately informed about what happened and dashes through the streets. He should have made him sign the elite contract from the start. If anything happened to Hyuk, what would he do? The officers pin and cuff him, but Choi tries to play it like he was innocent. He was actually kidnapped by this creep. Hyuk notes that this is his house and he broke in, but the police note that he has to come to. Hyuk wonders if he really is going to prison, but that's when Jong rushes in, and Choi thinks that it's to save him. Unfortunately, Jong walks right up to him and slaps the snot out of him, berating him so hard and so loudly that even the police can only watch as Choi is getting beaten. He tells the cops to take this bastard away, The niece will be here soon, and they can hand him over to them. Choi knows those bastards even use torture for player-related crimes, and he bows down, pleading for innocence. But Jong notes he's not the first to try this. He's a repeat offender too. They will uncover all the crimes he has committed, and even if he has the best lawyers in the damn country, he won't go unpunished. With that, he is dragged away, and Jong asks Hyuk if he's hurt, who immediately confirms otherwise. Then, Jong bows down to him. To ensure this never happens again, he will make sure to prepare. He cannot delay that elite contract any longer. He must protect this player. The next day, after summoning Kosak, he asks if that guy got the death penalty. And if not, does he happen to know where the detention shelter he's held in is? Hugh knows what he wants to do and denies it. He summons Meatball as well, who is very glad to see that he's getting so many 5-star reviews. With that, they go to the 19th floor, where they have to defeat 30 goblin shamans. They are not that threatening. They can't use any impressive magic. At most, it's curses or fire arrows. Sure enough, as they try to block Meatball's charge, he just roars their magic away. Kozak gets behind him and asks if he remembers what they talked about, to clear everything as fast as possible. Meatballs confirms as such, and they both charge in together, taking out tons of shamans. Before Hyuk can even get his items, the floor is cleared, and judging by Kosak's expression, he's guessing they did it because they didn't want him to fight. The next day, they go to the 20th floor, which is rated to have a very hard difficulty. Kosak confirms as such too. Every type of goblin appears here, from a scout with poison to max-level warriors. If he were the summoner, he would wait right here, and Meatball agrees. The mission this time is to kill 100 of any type of goblin and at least one hobgoblin. With that, the summons charge in, ready to take out the army of goblins, who are quite diversified, but Hyuk refuses to stand still. He uses Shadow Step to advance, and then uses Meatball's back to jump even higher. Kosak can't believe it. He actually went and did it, even after he told him not to. Hyuk, since he was a little child, has always been introverted. Even when children took his toys, he didn't say much. In elementary school, it got a little worse. Poverty had become the problem. In middle school, he was a loner too, never having any friends, and sitting behind in class when others went out with their friends. Even in high school, he ate lunch alone, the life of a complete social outcast. He was afraid of the very act of trying to change, and so, he remained a loner. Someone like him is fighting monsters in the tower? He, who could not even make eye contact with a woman before. It's something he would never have imagined. However, monsters are not people. There is no fear stemming from relationships with them. They are no different than a mob you have to kill for a quest. He just needs to crush them out and get the reward he was promised. Meanwhile, Kosak is still screaming, scared for his master's life. The goblin warriors point their spears at Hyuk, but he rushes through them and ends up behind the sharpshooters, bashing his skull in with his mace, before moving on to the others and doing the same thing. Kosak is amazed that, in such a short time, his master has learned to use Shadow Walk at an impressive level. Suddenly, a bunch of projectiles threaten Hyuk's life, and Kosak tells him to look out, allowing him enough time to block some of them with the shield, while others are blocked by his barrier. Hyuk is very glad to have it. Were it not for this barrier, he would have been dead by now. He has just realized how scary this truly is. Perhaps he got too carried away by his bravado. He immediately runs away as his emotions overwhelm him, primarily fear, and Kosak tells him to keep running towards the cliff, as he will be there immediately. Meatball beats his chest like a gorilla, noting that he must protect the summoner. Hyuk continues running, but he is running out of stamina, and the warrior goblins keep closing in. Eventually, he finds himself at a dead end. He's stuck between a rock and some very bloodthirsty goblins, so he puts his shield up and hopes for the best, while thinking that he really is going to die this time. Suddenly, Meatball protects him with his large hand and faces the goblins, who are now thinking twice about their rushed advance. He smashes them all to a pulp with one mighty punch, and Kosak congratulates him as he takes out more goblin assassins. The shamans try to take him down, but they have no chance against his blinding speed. He thinks that if he takes care of the shamans on the cliff, Hyuk should be fine. As he cuts and cuts, eventually, he finds nothing else to kill. He thinks they caught all 100 goblins they need, so it should be coming out soon. Hyuk is impressed by his summons, who cleared all of these goblins out in an instant, but not so much by Meatball's position, who unknowingly almost crushed him with his cheeks. Suddenly, though, he hears a mighty roar. It's the long-legged idol of the goblins, who are sad because of their short legs, the final evolution of the goblin, a hobgoblin. Kosak jumps off the cliff and tells Meatball to charge, who does so immediately, clashing with the gaunt hobgoblin. He manages to grab his throat tightly and hold him in place, allowing Kosak to move in, striking both of the creature's eyes before ending its life. With this, the 20th floor is cleared, Hyuk's level is increased, and his reward is a 2 kilograms monostone, or 4.4 pounds. Kosak congratulates Hyuk for succeeding, but Hyuk himself is impressed by the fact that he just one-shot a boss mob. Perhaps it would be better to leave everything to them after all. Anyway, he thanks them too, for working so hard to protect him. This was another S++ clear, so he is awarded a platinum badge too. News about this achievement spreads. It has become breaking news, and everyone is shocked. The chief can't believe this. The consecutive 20th floor record is good, but it is troublesome if too much attention is focused on who achieved it. Lee asks if they should try to control what the press puts out, but he denies this idea. Information might leak that they know who did it, and that would be pretty bad. But did they look into the player's family situation at least? Jung explains that he did so discreetly. His father, Mr. Bong Joohyuk, had a hip surgery after an accident on ice a few months ago, and is currently in rehab. The chief asks if there is a way to support him, and Jung planned to introduce him to the best rehab center in the country. But should he do that? The chief agrees, and Jung moves on to Hyuk's younger brother, Bong Minhyuk. He is a university freshman, scheduled to enlist soon, and some scholarship support would be the perfect benefit for him. Finally, there's his mother, Ms. Hong Gyumja. She was working as a water purification coordinator, but is currently unemployed. It appears she was forcibly fired from the company after a conflict with an angry customer. For the record, the person they need to pay the most attention to is the mother. She has the strongest voice in the entire family, and her personality is strong, to the point that the others can't make a peep if she decides something. The chief notes that this is a good plan, and tells him to go with it, even if they have to use all the authority of the Awakening Management Department. He has to make it happen. Jong confirms that he will do his utmost to support Hyuk's family. At his apartment, Kosak immediately smells the delivery man arriving at their door, and Meatball jumps up and down, threatening to make another hole. Hyuk hides both of them so they are not seen, and the delivery guy comes inside, who asks if he's having a party today, since he ordered 12 bowls of each thing. Hyuk confirms he has, and the delivery driver notes that he added 1 fried dumpling as service, and thanks him for his order once again. Hyuk thinks that only 1 fried dumpling is really stingy, and also sees that they didn't put any coupons either. Well, even if they did, how can he order food online with coupons? He tells the others to come out, and Kosak is amazed to see that he ordered chajang again. Meatball hasn't had it before, and immediately pops the dish in his mouth, plate and all, making Kosak scream at him again. Hyuk tells them to eat, as he has something to check, and opens his inventory. He has accumulated 20 platinum badges, which will grant him a perk, but he wonders what it will be this time. As the perk appears, it seems to be 1 random box, which glows brightly under Hyuk's eyes. This random box grants 3 random items found within the tower, which can be a lot of things. Hyuk wonders why there are so many options. Should he just skim through it? It's random anyway, so he shouldn't FOMO himself. He sees monostones, herbs and metals, weapons and armors, none of it being really great for him. Does the level up rune mean his level goes up while he stays on the same floor maybe? Then he wouldn't even get the clear rewards, so that's stupid. But there is also a tower jumping ticket, which skips floors. He thinks that the rune of level up is better than it, but there's also a multinational tower access ticket, which lets him clear towers from other countries. However, the best one among them is the grade confirmation summon ticket, which perhaps will make him pull an LSSR. He could forget about clearing the dungeon himself, and just chill while that rare summon does all the work for him. The box will give him 3 items, and there might actually be a chance to give him that. He decides to open it, praying that he'll get something good. The first reward he gets is a 10 kilograms, or 22-pound mana stone. Hyuk thinks this is the worst reward, as he can get mana stones at any point, but he can still sell them. For the second reward, he gains the Chaos Lighting Staff skill, which he thinks sounds like something straight from a martial arts movie. Finally, there's the last pull, and he prays it's something more useful this time, and his prayer seems to have been answered, as he gets the rune of Summon Grade Up. This is a total jackpot for him, as it can upgrade a summon's grade. This is what he's been wanting, but the problem is now, which one does he give it to? They are both equally reliable, if not idiotic, so it's hard to choose. He should probably choose Kosak though, right? Given how many meals they've shared. He decides to give it later, as they have plenty of firepower as is anyway. He doesn't need more. The skill though is another story. It infuses a blunt weapon with the power of lightning, consisting of 3 forms, and is also a growth type skill. He really needed an offensive skill as is, so he learns it, making all that knowledge rush to his brain in an instant. Hyuk immediately summons his weapon to try it, but as he does, nothing happens, so he acts nonchalantly. Indeed, if he could use this kind of power in reality, the world would have been gone a long time ago, so he will try it in the tower later. Kosak asks why he was just swinging his mace around just now, and Hyuk notes he got a skill as a reward. Kosak asks if it's an offensive skill, and Hyuk confirms as such, while also noting that it's a growth-type skill too. Kosak can't hold in his sadness, and drops his food, which Meatball immediately picks up and munches on, causing them to brawl. In response, Hyuk just unsummons them, having had enough for the day. The next day, Hyuk understands what Kosak is really worried about, and that is his summoner trait. This ability means the summons handle most of the combat power, so basically, the summoner doesn't really need to fight directly, especially for an irregular like him, who can summon in reality, and has expert summons. That person from a parallel universe who had the same trait, the one who called Kosak before him, must have been much stronger than he was. But even with that power, they died, and their world was destroyed too. It's only natural that Kosak is worried. Anyone would be. However, he is a human too. He just awakened and finally got a small taste of being a tough man, so he has to try out this attack skill he learned, for his barely existent manliness. Besides, both of them are absolutely obedient, so he can just talk them into it. He summons both of them, and Kosak looks like he's about to die from worrying. He thinks an offensive skill is worse than poison. Honestly, he was uneasy during the 20th floor clear too. Goblins are fine, sure, he can beat them, but that will not work on the orcs. Hyuk asks if he's going to tie him up perhaps with a butterfly knot maybe? Kosak denies such a thing. However, the summon principle number 3 is now in effect. The one that states that principle 1 takes priority. Meatball grabs him sternly, but Kosak told him to save it for the tower. How can he be so slow? Kosak tells Hyuk outright that once they enter the tower, Meatball will be holding him safely, and he will clear it. Hyuk is surprised they unionized against him, but he did not want to go this far. Now, he has to unleash his ultimate move. He activates his secret technique, the sad puppy eyes, and begs Kosak to let it slide just this once. He will be more careful from now on, he promises. Kosak doesn't believe him, but Hyuk stakes everything on it. He won't run out by himself. Instead, it's boring to sit around, so he wants to kill just one, carefully and slowly. That should be fine, no? Kosak doesn't know what to say, but Hyuk just keeps begging and begging until he finally relents. But he will intervene immediately if things get too dangerous. With that, they enter the 21st floor. Kosak explains that orcs have strength, but are pretty stupid, and probably a bit smarter than Meatball over here, despite what everyone says. Hyuk equips his items and notes that they should practice 10 times before they go, but Kosak notes that he can do so 100 times for all he cares. Kosak tells him to use a meatball as a target dummy, as he won't feel it anyway. Hyuk asks if he really asked him to hit a meatball, but Kosak notes it's just 10 times, and even with his full power, he won't leave a scratch. Meatball confirms this too, but Hyuk doesn't want to. If they keep this up, he's going to charge in alone. Anyway, the technique is already in his head, so it will be easier to practice on an orc than to hit a meatball. The quest for this floor is to defeat 30 forest orcs, with a time limit of 4 hours. Kosak and Meatball go in first, with Meatball jumping in with a mighty punch against one of the orcs, as Kosak rushes through them and cuts them up into tiny pieces. Hyuk is impressed by how fast they are. At this rate, things will be over before he touches a single orc. Suddenly though, Kosak stops at one of the orcs, who is confused as to why he wasn't hit too. Hyuk knows he picked it for him, and charges in too, using Shadow Step to get there immediately. Kosak gets out of his way, and the orc tries to swing at Hyuk, but he dodges and uses the first form, the Lightning Soul Chaser, a simple vertical strike. However, it has enough power to crush the skull of the orc upon hitting, making Hyuk smile with pride. After taking down the orc, Hyuk stands over his body, thinking that this is far too easy. With this in mind, he tries going for another, but that's when Meatball puts the orc on the ground, and Kosak puts a knife in his head, as they only agreed on just one enemy after all. With that, they clear the 21st floor. His level increases. He gains a mana stone, 5 tower-exclusive healing potions, and another platinum badge. The next day, Hyuk takes down 1 desert orc before clearing the 22nd floor. The day after that, 1 cave orc. So on, he kills a volcano orc too, and even though it was slightly more difficult than the other ones, he got it. The next day after that, Hyuk woke up with a smile on his face as they had just reached the long-awaited 25th floor. Catching just 1 enemy at a time is starting to feel a little boring though, so still he must build trust with Kosak for the time being. As he puts his pants on, he thinks that he hasn't given any items to Meatball or Kosak ever since they've been with him, so he should probably hand over a rune while he's at it. He summons Kosak, who asks if he wasn't resting today, and hands over a rune that he picked up on the way. Kosak wonders if it's for eating, but then checks it out and sees that it's actually a summon grade up rune. which increases the grade of the summoned being. Kozak is very shocked and tries to bite it, and Hyuk is very glad to see that he likes it. Kozak is confused though. Is he really giving this to him? If he uses this, he'd grade up to an SSR. He is really overwhelmed with emotion. He'll be able to protect him even better now, so he's really happy. Hyuk likes seeing him feel good and asks if he's going to start the upgrade now. Kozak says it is more dangerous if it's done in a rush, so he'll do it when he returns today, and then he'll see him with a new, fresh look. Hyuk asks if he's really leaving already. Since he's here, he can hang out a bit if he wants. If that is the case, Kozak picks up the remote and notes that he'll watch some TV. They both sit down. Hyuk is wondering if he's really going to watch the same reruns all over again. Should he just watch a VOD or something? Kozak thinks that's expensive, but Hyuk knows that they have a lot of money anyway, so he can watch it with ease. Suddenly though, Hyuk sees something and tells him to turn the channel back. Kozak does so until he ends up on a channel with Hyuk's mom on it, who is extremely confused as to why she is on the news in the first place. His mom is actually protesting against water purifier managers and for preventing companies from abusing their power. She couldn't stand it anymore, as this kind of unfair contract termination was the breaking point for her. What makes her even angrier is that the company told her to apologize to the customer, even though she did nothing wrong. When she didn't bend her back for them, what came back in the end was a contract termination notice. What she got from doing a one-person protest for over 10 days was only ridicule from the company executives, who are still probably laughing at her. However, she doesn't care. If they come next time, she'll just ram them. As she continues sulking, suddenly someone else arrives, thanking her for her hard work. He introduces himself as someone from the law firm Park and Kim. He is attorney Lee. Hearing law firm, Hyuk's mother immediately gets angry, thinking that the company is trying to sue her, but she lets them, as she will never back down. Lee tells her to calm down, and explains that he came here for the opposite reason. He wants to formally sue the corporation that fired her. Park and Kim is Korea's best law firm, so they will represent her for free. She submitted a petition to the labor office too, didn't she? He came after hearing about it from a public servant he knows. She is definitely surprised, but this is a project for the socially disadvantaged that their law firm conducts every single year. Hyuk's mother is suspicious about it, but it doesn't seem like she's lying. Should she really accept though? Lee explains that she's lived diligently up until now. She should think of it as receiving a bit of luck, and they will stake their honor in winning this case for her. Hyuk's mother relents, and agrees to entrust the defense to them, so Lee immediately decides to start by beginning the media work with a flick of his wrist. Thousands of reporters appear right in front of her, putting this situation in the world's view. With her thumbs up, he tells her that it's fine to answer the reporters' questions as long as she can, and to speak in detail. She shouldn't leave out a single unfair treatment she suffered, as they will reveal the real truth to everyone. As she does so, Hyuk sulks in his room, never expecting that his mother has been suffering during a one-person protest. At this point, what's the use of having two sons? They are unfilial sons who can't even be relied on at important times like these. However, how did she even get a lawyer if it's the Park and Kim law firm? A few pennies would never be enough. Those guys are pretty expensive. Kozak dangles his daggers around and asks if he should visit that company for him at least once. Hyuk is glad he grasped the situation. It's rather commendable, but he tells him not to do that. From looking at his mother's interview, it seems she's got herself a pretty decent lawyer already. He thinks he should at least send her the lawyer's fees later. The mana stones he's collected so far are worth about 10 million won, and if it's not enough, he will just sell the energy barrier kit. Suddenly, he gets a call from his father, who immediately asks if he has seen the news. Hyuk confirms, and his father tells him not to worry, as his mother's lawyer is available. Hyuk notes that he was actually planning to send her some lawyer fees, but his father wonders where he would even get that money from. Anyway, he should not worry about his mother and just keep working well. He also got a call from Ilseong Hospital today. The orthopedics department at Ilseong is implementing some type of hip joint surgery rehabilitation treatment project, and they said he was selected, so he is being hospitalized there for a few days. With any bit of luck, even the treatment costs for the hospital rehab are also free, or so he's been told, so he shouldn't worry about them anymore, right? Hyuk closes the call and thinks about Ilseong Hospital. It is Korea's best hospital, owned by a conglomerate. It's a good thing, but isn't this a bit strange? The whole family is having some type of luck. Is this perhaps a special day? He calls his brother, who immediately asks if he saw their mother's interview, and knows that he thought it was going to explode as she explained. He knows how hard she worked to raise them after all. He was actually thinking of sending the allowance he gave him to their mother. If the lawsuit proceeds, it will probably cost a lot of money. Hyuk asks if he said he didn't need a laptop or something, but his brother says it's fine. He has enough money to pay tuition and buy a laptop after all. He received a scholarship actually. Living kindly certainly does bring luck, doesn't it? Hyuk is suspicious and asks where this scholarship came from, so his brother explains that it's a national one, given by the Awakening Management Department. They usually give out lots of scholarships after all. Hyuk expected something like this. It wasn't the heavens that were helping him. His mom's lawyer, his dad's hospital surgery, and his brother's scholarship. All of it. It's the work of the Awakening Management Department. With this in mind, he calls Jong and asks if he has some time so they can meet somewhere quiet. Jong says that he does. He will come pick him up so they can have a meal together. He takes Hyuk to a BBQ restaurant, and upon sitting down, he immediately asks why he did it. He is talking about his mom's lawsuit, his father's hospital treatment, and his brother's scholarship. Jong doesn't even deny it. He explains that it was absolutely necessary. If there are troubles at home, worry is bound to rise, and those worries would affect his tower clearing. Hyuk knows that even so, he did so without consulting him at all. Isn't that kind of care only applied to the elite team? Isn't he just on a general contract? Jong suddenly smashes the table and puts the ultra-elite contract on it, noting that they can sign right now, of course, if he feels like this is charity. Hyuk is a bit surprised. This guy really came prepared. However, he is not that confident yet, and his talent isn't exactly great either. Hearing this, Jong gets up and asks if he sincerely thinks that, even after setting an unprecedented record, Hyuk can't really do so. It would just sound like false modesty coming from someone who cleared 24 floors at S++ rank consecutively. Jong suddenly bows down earnestly, begging him to sign. Did he not go through that incident with that Choi guy recently? If he joins the elite team and receives the treatment he deserves, he would never have to go through a situation like that, and everyone knows he's more than qualified for it. Hyuk tells him to sit down, as he is a bit embarrassed, but Jong continues as he does. If he signs the elite contract, at least he knows he will be safe because he will receive protection equivalent to a VIP. Hyuk notes that having someone stick to him at all times sounds rather uncomfortable, and he doesn't want his clear to be filmed either. One of the biggest reasons for not signing is the player's duty to record video. He doesn't want Kosak and Meatball to be exposed and get entangled in this stuff. Jong explains that the video recording can be handled however he wishes, and the security issue can be adjusted as much as he likes. Hyuk is interested and asks how he will adjust it exactly. Jong explains that he can just spend his usual days living alone, but in a highly secure place. He will only receive protection when he is doing outside activities if he wishes, so bodyguards will also be assigned to his family. Hyuk is kind of wavering, even if he doesn't want to, but then Jong deals the final blow, explaining that immediately upon signing the elite contract, he will be provided 2 houses, one for his family and one for him. This hits Hyuk in the heart, and he asks if it is really okay to be so straightforward. Jong thinks that his expression tells him everything he needs to know, and tells him not to worry about that, as he came here with the full authority granted by the chief. All he needs to do is sign here. Hyuk happily grabs the pen and begins doing so, but then stops himself as he needs a little more time. Jong asks what the reason for that time is, and Hyuk knows that he just wants to get some advice before deciding on it. The next day, Hyuk summons Kosak for that reason, but he is met with his upgraded form, where his clothes have become like a glowing gemstone. Hyuk tells him to change back because his eyes hurt, and after he does so, Kosak asks if he's not going to call for Meatball too. Hyuk explains that before clearing the 25th floor, he called him separately because he had something to discuss with him. Kosak guesses so, as he wouldn't be having an impossible conversation with Meatball after all. Hyuk explains that he met the team leader from the Awakening Management Department yesterday, and he has received this offer. Now he is debating whether he should remain in the normal team or join the elite team. What does he think about it? Kosak is in favor. He is a player of national power level after all, so he must receive the treatment he deserves. Hyuk wonders if that would really be okay. If he joins the elite team, he might have to climb to the 60th floor, or who knows how high. Kosak thinks that it's definitely possible, and Hyuk guesses he will have to train hard too if that's the case, but Kosak immediately denies it. It is enough for him to live a long life, as his safety is power itself, isn't it? In the space where he stayed before he was summoned, there were tons of legendary SSR-grade summoned beings. As long as he is safe, he can summon all of them at one point. They will all practice absolute obedience just like he does. If he orders something, they will do it. Of course, as long as it doesn't violate the third principle. Additionally, there are also a few demigod-level monsters that transcend the status of humans in there. They are pretty scary even to him. Hyuk is surprised to hear this, and can't even imagine how much power they would have. although he notes that he probably wouldn't be able to summon such unranked existences at this point, right? Cossack confirms as such, but later, when his summoning ability increases, he will certainly be able to do it. So he should live a long, long life and just consistently do random summons. That is his ultimate skill in an incredibly small move. Hyuk thinks that, since the random summon cooldown is roughly a month, that's 12 times a year. If good items drop, he can probably do even more than that. But naturally, it's all for nothing if he doesn't get lucky. He has 19 days left until the next random summon. So what should he do? Cossack suggests that he make one firm demand. Climbing uncleared floors is decided solely by him, without outside interference. He should make sure this is a set condition. He must do so, otherwise, all sorts of trash will throw a fit, asking him why he isn't climbing the uncleared floors yet. Then, in an unprepared state, perhaps fate will not be kind to him anymore. Basically, he must never be dragged along, and if that condition is guaranteed, receiving state support shouldn't be that much of an issue for him. Hyuk thanks him for his opinion, and summons Meatball, who greets him warmly. Cossack asks if he's not going to greet him too, but Meatball won't greet just anyone. Cossack notes that he's not just anyone anymore. He's an SSR, a special super rare. There are 2 whole S's attached in front of the R, unlike a measly R like he is. Meatball notes that SS is in his bed, but Cossack tells him to shut up. This is the difference in levels between them, so he must respect it. He can't even maintain eye contact right now, since the grade gap is 2 levels apart. Even Meatball must be feeling some type of influence. Next time he gets a grade up rune, he will definitely give it to Meatball. With that, they enter the 25th floor, and the mission for that floor is to defeat 100 orcs, regardless of type, and 1 orc grade chieftain. The time limit for this is 10 hours. Almost immediately the orcs charge at them, and Hyuk thinks that it's a lot. Maybe he can sneak around and catch 1 or 2, right? Cossack begins to stretch, noting that it's time to celebrate the SSR rank up, and tells Meatball to go first and pull some aggro. Meatball immediately does so, rushing in and jumping into the air before smashing his fists into the ground, sending more than a few orcs flying. Cossack himself dashes in at incredible speed, to the point where Hyuk feels that it feels similar to a jet flying past him. Cossack unleashes a bunch of daggers all at once, and then uses blade explosion to take care of the stabbed enemies. Even the surrounding orcs are getting caught in the explosion. This is not just a simple blade explosion anymore, it's like a nuke. A few orcs charge at Cossack from behind, seemingly hitting him fatally, making them grin, but suddenly, the phantasm they hit begins to dissipate. Cossack kills them all using the despicable ambush. Seeing this, the other orcs become naturally afraid of him, but he isn't done yet. He uses Poison Dagger and notes that they are just getting started. Hyuk gets scared. Before he gets them all, he needs to kill at least 1 too. He uses Shadow Step and jumps in, remembering what Cossack said about him living a long life. He heard that, and took it into account, but he has to grow up too. Enough so that everyone who worries about him can be at ease, at least. As he continues charging in, he thinks that he can't rely on Cossack forever. He has to grow strong too. The orc he's attacking notices him too, but Hyuk dashes away from his attack and kicks him in the back, making the orc fall on his face. After getting up and looking all confused, Hyuk unleashes the Primordial Fist, a second form of the Primordial Thunderstaff, the soul-chasing thunderbolt directly from above, taking out the orc with ease. A group notices what he has done, and charges in, but uses Shadow Step, and the first form again and again, killing them one by one. Because of this, the second form of the Primordial Thunderstaff is unlocked, the Scattered Falling Thunder. Hyuk is very happy to see this. He now knows how to use the form immediately too, but since it is Scattered Thunder, what kind of technique is it? He decided to immediately use it, and he crashes it into an entire group of orcs, making the Scattered Falling Thunder split into 5 branches that hit the entire group. Basically, it's an AoE attack. Cossack suddenly notices that there's lightning around, and then looks behind. Seeing Hyuk is actually fighting, he immediately rushes to him and begins crying out, noting that he should not be happy just because he unlocked a new skill. Did they not agree that he would only catch 1 orc per floor? Hyuk apologizes, but then he wonders why he is apologizing to an entity he summoned. He speaks out, wondering why he has to walk on eggshells around them forever. He might be a wimp outside, but inside of this tower, he's an alpha male. Cossack lets out a long streak of tears, noting that his safety is the #1 priority, but Hyuk has had enough of that. He wants the orc great chieftain to come out now, as he will run right up and smash his head in like his minions. It seems the chieftain has heard that, and is now looming over Hyuk with his very sharp battle axe. As he crashes into Hyuk, he immediately begs Mr. Cossack to save him, and he does so with ease. making Hyuk think that he should have listened earlier. He then orders Kosak to get rid of the orc chieftain now, who is rather confused by this ragtag group of would-be fighters. Kosak tells him to leave it to them, as they will make sure that bastard doesn't touch a hair on him. With that, they both go in. Meatball charges in at the front while Kosak takes the side. Meatball simply grabs the great battle axe and makes a death blow through it using sheer force. After that, he jumps up and smashes his fists into the chieftain's shoulders, causing him to stumble back. Using this opportunity, Kosak appears from behind and cuts him into 1,000 little pieces, ending the fight immediately. With this, the 25th floor is officially over. He gains another mana stone, another platinum badge, and a very harsh lesson. This is the final badge needed to get another perk, so Hyuk immediately uses it and is then granted a choice of an encore perk. He has never gotten these options before, but among all of them, the only natural choice is trait enhancement. He would be a fool not to get that. With this, simultaneous summons is increased to 3. If he counts himself participating in the battle, that's basically a 4-man party. The random summon cooldown has about 18 days left anyway, and so he will soon summon the 3rd team member. Well, he should think about that later. Now it's time to eat. He asks what they would like to eat today, and Kosak asks for tteokbokki. Hyuk wonders why, as he can't handle spicy food, but Kosak believes that since he is an SSR now, he can handle anything. Hyuk tells him to suit himself and get the food, a lot of it too, as they should celebrate clearing the 25th floor. Meatball is the first to get a bowl and slurp it, making Kosak ask if it's not spicy. Meatball notes that it's just a bit sweet, but when Kosak tries it, his mouth immediately becomes a flamethrower, and he begins to slowly melt into a puddle on the ground. Meatball explains that this guy is dying soon, so he should throw him away and summon a new one. Hyuk just laughs it off and thinks that they've already cleared the 25th floor. At this rate, it's probably okay to tell his family, right? A bit later, he goes to his family, bringing some quality beef to them, but his brother wonders where he got the money from, and his mother wonders how much she spent on it. Did he even look at the receipt, as this should be extremely expensive? His father tells her to stop it. Things have been chaotic as of late anyway. After cooking it and enjoying it, Hyuk is just happy to see them with no stress in their eyes. His mother's lawsuit, his dad's treatment, everything seems to have worked out well. Since he came here for one reason, he should announce it too. He tells everyone to listen as he has an announcement to make, and then explains that he has awakened and is an active player. They don't really react at first, but then his brother tells him to just eat the fruit he brought. His mother tells him to stop joking around, and his father wonders if he's talking about a game or something. Almost immediately, Hyuk picks up the phone and calls team leader Jong, as he wants to give these untrustworthy guys a tour of their new home. The next day, they are brought with a limousine to their new housing, and Jong explains that Hyuk really has awakened. He's a precious talent of the nation after all, an elite player. Jong guides them to their new accommodations with a very serious-looking card. He opens the door to the apartment, which seems more like a villa compared to their old home. After that, Hyuk goes to the Awakened Management Department and officially signs the elite contract. Just a short time ago, he thought he would never sign something like this, but life surely took a turn. Jung apologizes that they can only provide an annual salary of 2 billion won, because the initial annual salary for elite players is regulated. They can only do so much, actually. For someone like him, he should probably be getting a much larger amount. Hyuk explains that it was a choice he made himself. It is just that he is not comfortable with being officially revealed as an S++ rank holder. If that happens, his personal information will certainly be released. If his face does spread on TV, social media, and everywhere, it might become more difficult for his family to even go outside. Just imagining something like that is terrible. Jong was also wondering if his family liked the house, and if there are any aspects that are lacking, he should feel free to share. Hyuk tells him it's more than enough. He even got a text from his brother explaining how much they loved the house and everything in it. Jong also wanted to talk about the office telling where he will be residing. It is also ready for him. They've prepared it with full options, including appliances and furniture, so he can move in immediately. But is it really okay with a 2-room apartment? Hyuk is impressed by the images alone. It is so clean and nice. To him, this already feels like a penthouse, and too much for a single person like him. That night, in the largest penthouse in Korea, located in Seoul, another ranker is enjoying his 2 women, asking how long they are just going for a boring swim. Shouldn't they come out and have some fun? This is Yoo Chae-olman, South Korea's first-ranked player. His trait is an all-weapon warrior. He has the highest proficiency in all weapons, possesses numerous AoE lethal and ultimate skills, and is currently climbing the highest floors, the 66th floor of the Black Tower in Korea. He pulls them out of the in-house pool and cheers with them using a drink that is extremely expensive. As they talk about it, one of the women perks up, as she was curious about something, since he is the top player in all. She was wondering who on earth was the record holder for the consecutive S+ ranks that cleared up to the 25th floor. Whenever people gather these days, that's all they talk about, so she was naturally curious. Cheolman notes that nothing is really that great about a measly 25th floor. He has no interest in some low-level rant like that. A world first after all. Isn't he a little bit curious that such a player exists in his country out of all of them? The other, sensing the atmosphere, tells her to stop talking about that. But Cheolman suddenly begins pouring the alcohol on the girl who asked, telling her to keep blabbering. She should listen well while she still can. If he stops clearing the 66th floor right now, what does she think will happen? Right now, the Black Tower is in the boonies of Gangwon-do, but what if it's built near a major city? Next time, South Korea will just be utterly destroyed, so should they test that out? Does she really want that? Would she really want the tower to collapse because of her? After kicking both of them out, Cheolman thinks that he had his head out. The fun was sucked out of him with that conversation. These player women only keep blabbering about the S+. He invited some civilians to have fun with, but they are talking about death everywhere, it seems. Constantly and constantly. He sighs, thinking that China contacted him this month, following last month. The condition was an annual salary of 180 billion won. On top of that, he would get a mansion, caretakers, a private jet, and treatment equivalent to a national leader. What about Japan? He was also offered an annual salary of 200 billion won and a top-class mansion, assigned caretakers who will do whatever he wanted. He was promised the highest treatment and pleasures, yet he stayed in Korea, clearing the 66th floor to the death for months. What he gets in return is just yapping about some bastard who just broke through the 25th floor. They are all ungrateful. Perhaps he really should just naturalize. The 66th floor is cumbersome enough as it is. Even for him, it's pretty difficult. The 60s floors are the beginning of the undead section. On the 66th floor, bastards called specters appear. They take the form of ghosts that make one tremble just by looking at them, and physical attacks are ignored. Only elemental attacks are effective against them. It is a huge mistake to think that they are the undead from common fiction. Only those who've experienced how terrible their demonic energy is can know they are completely different. After one attempt, one has to rest for 3 days, due to mental shock alone. Accessories and elixirs to withstand the dark aura, and even light attributes tower reward weapons have been used. But even with all that kind of support, he's barely made it out alive every time. Clearing the 66th floor will be difficult for a long time. However, he should just stop thinking about naturalization for a while. He should just really push the 66th floor. If he suddenly naturalizes in a foreign country, the world will fall into chaos. The deadline for Korea's 66th floor clear has already passed the halfway mark in the first place. In about 3 months, the tower collapse countdown will officially begin if he doesn't move fast enough. The only hope would be him, the top player. But even so, perhaps it's already too late because he won't be in Korea by then. They will regret it, and they will despair, and that S+ player of theirs will be of no use. A few days later, Hyuk ordered some chickens, 10 fried chickens to be exact, and the apartment staff carried it to his room. Hyuk apologized for causing them trouble. He thinks that it's very comfortable since he came to live in this place. Resident staff handled everything from office-tel management to small errands. Dropping and picking up laundry is very simple, and if cleaning is needed, they even dispatch those. The facilities attached in the building have basically everything. Restaurants where one can get 3 meals a day, coffee shops, gyms, dry cleaners, karaoke, and so on. The 26th floor mission they just finished was to eliminate 20 swamp trolls. The 26th floor is pretty known as a tough mission because of the swamp environment, but thanks to the shadow step, it was pretty okay. He goes with the chicken to Meatball and Kosak, but they are seemingly distracted by something, and they are both staring at it. Hyuk comes closer to see what they could be watching, and he sees that they are just staring at a K-pop group on the 100-inch TV he has. He acknowledges that even he would be mesmerized by something like this. As they eat, Kosak asks if they will do the 27th floor straight away tomorrow, and Hyuk confirms as such. Since they started, they should go straight through the 29th floor, and maybe even the 30th later. He wants to go up to the 29th floor especially. Hyuk explains that they will do repeat clears for 10 days, and when the random summon cooldown is up, he plans to go up to the 30th floor then, as a 4-person party. Kozak forgot that they can pick up a new member soon. He was actually looking really forward to it. Meatball is looking forward to it too, but Kosak also hopes that it's not someone better than him, as he doesn't want to lose his position as the right-hand man. A bit later, Jong comes along with the item he requested. the volcano orc leather armor, which blocks all types of colds and chills. Hyuk thanks him for taking care of him every time, and Jong notes that it's just his job to provide support tailored to his needs. With that, they officially enter the 27th floor, which is notorious for how cold it is, but because of his new armor, Hyuk doesn't feel it at all. He asks Meatball if he is not cold, since he is basically naked, but Meatball doesn't feel any coldness. Kosak, however, is already a frost statue, making Hyuk ask if he should give him the armor, but Kosak denies any help. This cold is nothing after all. He can drive it away with his magical power. Hyuk reluctantly lets it go, and Kosak begins to jump up and down, noting that it gets better with movement. They should start the hunt right away. He begins dashing through the mountain like a man in lava, making Hyuk think that he's gone berserk thanks to the cold. He is not worried about that though, as he feels like he's under a blanket in a heated room. He feels too comfortable to even move, but he should catch at least one. He tells Meatball that they should follow after him, but just as they begin to move, the floor is cleared, giving him another mana stone and a tower-exclusive item, the Roland Kingdom Paladin Captain's Holy Sword. What a name. Hyuk is very glad to see that an item actually dropped. He is happy at first, but sees that the sword is extremely worn out. He does not even know what's better about it compared to his mace, so he puts it in his inventory, deciding to find its disposal price later. He has not read this, but this blade is perfect against undead, as it has increased attack power, sacred fire, steadfast spirit, and critical hit chance, all increased when facing them. After getting back to the real world, Hyuk offers the sword to Meatball, asking if he would try to use it, but Meatball refuses, noting that a warrior only uses his fists. Kosak also refuses, as the gear he uses is wyvern leather armor and dwarven daggers. They are very elegant and perfect for him already. Hyuk thinks that selling this really is his only option, meaning he has to go to a player shop again, which is a hassle. Before that though, he tried. He wants to try swinging it at least once. He does so, but after just 2 very awkward-looking swings, his mana is completely drained. Kosak thinks that was amazing, but Hyuk wonders what was amazing about that. Kosak explains that he did well, all things considered. After all, physical abilities are limited when outside of the tower. Hyuk wonders if there's any way to remove that limit, and Kosak explains that it is actually possible. If the boundary between the outside world and the tower disappears, the limits will be lifted. If the numerous towers on Earth collapse, this reality will become the same space as the tower, and then the player's abilities will naturally be unlocked. That is basically an omen of impending doom to everyone else. At the Japanese embassy in Korea, in Seoul, a very important person is informed that the rabbit says he wants to leave his old nest and move to a new one. The man thinks that this is great news and tells him not to worry about anything, as they will be handling it. This is the Japanese embassy counselor, Tomo, who thinks that a typhoon is about to hit and that they will be the ones who create it. 2 days later, Hyuk checks out the Black Tower stats. He got a bit anxious because of what Kosak said about impending doom or whatever. However, for climbing the high floors, they have no choice but to leave it to the pros like Cheolman. Worrying will not solve anything after all, and he just needs to keep climbing at his own pace, just like he has been doing. Okay, following the 28th floor, today is the time to clear the 29th floor. The 28th floor was a headache because of the jungle trolls attacking from top giant trees. An S++ rank would have been difficult if it were for just Kosak, but with Meatball, he basically just shook those gigantic trees until all the trolls fell out. Kosak then cut them up to end the fight. However, he knows that the 29th floor they are clearing today will not end cleanly. They will be fighting plague trolls, guys who wander around the dripping yellow pus and discharge all over. There were actually players who got sick during this clear. Okay, he has prepared thoroughly enough, so he summons both of his summons, and they make their way to the 29th floor. After getting there, Hyuk wonders if they're really okay with not wearing masks, but Meatball knows that he doesn't get sick, and Kosak thinks he's an SSR. Also, it's hard for him to breathe and move with that thing, although he accepts his consideration. Thanks to these two who do not care about disease, the hunting speed of this floor seemed even faster than the 28th floor, so they cleared it rather easily without much hassle. After that, Kosak wonders what they will be having for dinner today, but Hyuk suddenly apologizes and, with a sad look on his face, unsummons both of them, as he will not be in the same room with them when they are in that stinky state. The next day, in the Awakening Management Department gym, someone seems to be training hard with very heavy dumbbells. This is Nam Gayun, Korea's second-ranked player with the swordsman trait, who is currently climbing the 62nd floor of the Black Tower. She is thinking about the dark zombie of that floor. They emit a dark aura that encroaches upon and corrupts the players during combat. As of now, she has no chance of victory. Is this really her limit? Even if it is, as long as she walks the path of an elite player and tries until her body breaks, she boosts up by using some protein supplements and thinks that she has to be positive no matter what. Suddenly though, she sees Mina and a few others dashing through the floors, and she calls out to Mina, who notes that she is busy right now, so she can't talk. Gayun was curious as to why everyone was rushing into one place. Did something happen? Mina guesses she hasn't found out yet, but that Cheolman bastard, he actually went and did it. A little later, at a conference, Cheolman explained that Korea's awakening department only focused on politics and has neglected the operation of the elite team. The future of this country was grim. Therefore, Cheolmin will now be leaving Korea as of today and be active as a Japanese player. Hyuk is shocked when he finds out he is in the same room as Jeong. But what will they do now since their country's first-ranked player is gone? Jeong explains that this is why he invited him too. By any chance, how long would it take him to climb the 60th floor? Hyuk knew it would come up. He wondered why he even called so suddenly. It was because of the clear. He is currently on the 29th floor. Assuming he climbs uncleared upper floors every day, it would take him 37 days to get to the 66th floor. Since the deadline for clearing the 66th floor of the Black Tower is 90 days away, simply looking at it, it is basically possible, but it would be extremely difficult to do within 90 days. If there is a difficult section, he also has to spend at least 10 days preparing before climbing, and in the contract clause it says climbing the upper floors is left solely to his decision. Jeong apologizes. It has not been that long since he signed a contract, and he has no face to ask for such a favor. But they're so desperate that they're clutching at straws here. Seeing his sad face, Hyuk's resolve weakens. But even so, it can't be done. He can't make a promise that he cannot guarantee. It's just not the kind of man he is. Suddenly, Gayun appears in the room, as she's heard from Mina about what happened. Did the US really say that they would lend them light attribute items? Jeong explains that they haven't received the definitive answer yet. Right now, the supply of light attribute items is difficult to procure globally, so they aren't shared that much. Gaeon apologizes. She was just anxious, and asks if she was interrupting something, having guests over. Seeing her, Hyuk immediately freezes and makes up the excuse of selling some items. Come to think of it, he obtained something like this a while ago. Since it seems they are lacking in light attribute items, would she like to try using it? Someone said it's a superior version of light attribute items, but he doesn't know about that, as it looks rather ragged. Gayun is interested in the sword and asks if she can check it out for a moment. Upon doing so, she sees the effect that it has, and she is immediately shocked, as she has never even heard of such an effect on one single weapon. Suddenly, she grabs Hyuk's shoulders and asks him to lend the blade to her. She will do anything for it, absolutely anything. Feeling her touch, Hyuk is already thinking of their marriage and their honeymoon. He even goes as far as to think of their first kiss, while they are thinking of their first child's name. But suddenly he wakes up to reality. Gayun asks if he really is going to lend this sword to her. Hyuk wonders when he started daydreaming, and knows that, of course, he will lend it. She should just use it and let him know if the performance is at least decent. She thanks him again, and knows that if he ever needs any sort of help later, he should call her at any time. With that, she equips her usual gear, and immediately goes to the 62nd floor. Hyuk wonders if that sword will really be useful. The review needs to be good, so it sells at a high price. Well, he was just planning to get rid of it anyway, so he shouldn't be greedy, but he wonders how much an old sword like that could even do. Gayun appears on the 62nd floor, and her mission is to defeat 20 dark zombies with a 15-hour time limit. She is facing something that shouldn't even be alive, an undead mockery of life. She can never familiarize herself with this trembling tension, no matter how many times she feels it. This disgusting energy that makes her want to flee right away is still the same after countless tries. She activates the holy sword's white radiance, and thinks that the light on it is dimmer than she thought. The radiance of the light attribute item she's been supported with so far has been brighter, so will this really be okay? As a zombie charges in, she thinks that she has no choice but to try it out herself and face the enemy without running away. That is the destiny of a player after all. She charges into the zombie and smashes the blade into its hand, but suddenly, the dark aura she has been feeling starts seeping in. She falls, her body feeling extremely heavy, and the sword seemingly does nothing about it. Just as the undead is about to strike her down, though, the steadfast mind ability of the holy sword activates, and a mighty holy shield appears in front of the undead. She strikes the hand that wanted to take her down, taking it out immediately due to the critical damage, and she continues slicing, every attack being a critical hit. She is shocked by how easy that was, but if that is the case, This is actually possible now. 2 hours pass. Jong waits impatiently, looking at his watch, and wonders what happened. When Gaeun fails, she usually returns in 2 hours, so he wonders what happened now. Is she alright? Suddenly she appears, and Jong thanks her for her hard work. But before anything, she pops a healing potion, as she's rather tired. Jong thinks that she couldn't have cleared it already. Perhaps she abandoned it. It really is impossible, even with that sword. As she finishes drinking, she walks toward Hyuk, who is very glad to see that she is safe, and asks if the holy sword was at least a little bit useful. Suddenly she pulls him into a tight embrace, completely overriding everything he was going to say. He starts blabbering, but his mind is already in delusion mode, and thinking of their third child's name. Gaeun thanks him once again. If it weren't for that holy sword, she would have definitely failed once again. Jong asks if that really means she succeeded, and she confirms as such. Of course, she will have to continue trying to know for sure, but if it goes well, she thinks she might even be able to clear the 66th floor with this sword. Jong is very happy. This is really a huge relief. However, if Hyuk had brought this holy blade a little earlier, and it had fallen into the hands of that black-hearted Cheolman, he would have still left for Japan, and they would have had nothing to clear the tower with. The more this man, Hyuk, the more he gets to know him, the more fascinating he becomes. From the S++ to things like this, is it even possible for one person to perform such things all alone? Gaeun knows that she used the blade really well, but the blade is damaged in several places. Hyuk thinks nothing of it. It was a mess to begin with, so he will probably have a few more uses before it gets thrown away, right? Jong says it's fine. There are many skilled craftsmen in the player shop/workshop. If they ask them, it should be usable for quite a long time with repairs. Hyuk wonders if the repair costs will be high, but Jong tells him not to worry about that, as their management department will cover all costs. Hyuk wonders why they are not just buying it from him while they're at it. They need to continue clearing the 60th floors after all. Jong notes that, in his opinion, it would be better not to sell the sword. Instead, he should rent it, basically keeping ownership of the sword while getting money for its use. Besides Korea, there are hundreds of towers all over the world. Not many countries have entered the 60th floor yet, but they will keep coming up, so he can let it to those countries too, for maybe 10 billion won per use. It is definitely worth a try, considering management logistics, and if there's any part he doesn't like, he should feel free to tell him at any point. Hyuk jumps up in happiness, giving him a double thumbs up, as that is way too good. The rental business is just pure profit. Jong explains that the management department will handle the holy sword rental logistics on his behalf. Hyuk also wants to rent it to the management department for only 1 billion, since it will be getting a lot of offers from other countries in the future. They should just advertise it well to the entire world, right? Jong thanks him for his consideration, and knows that they will use it to the best of their abilities. After getting back home, Hyuk begins cooking some pork belly with a wide smile on his face. He will get 10 billion just for lending it once. It doesn't even feel real. The item he was just going to throw away or something has actually turned into a gold mine. He hands the cooked pork belly to the summons, with Kosak noting that he didn't have to cook personally for him, and Meatball saying that he treats them well. Hyuk pulls out his best capitalist smile and tells them to eat 1 million won's worth of boiled pork, for all he cares, because thanks to them, he is now rich. That evening, breaking news exploded from every media outlet in Korea, and just like that, thanks to Hyuk's performance, or luck, Korea's crisis had turned into an opportunity for Gaeun to rise to the top. 10 days later, the awaited random summon cooldown has returned. He has scrubbed diligently in the washroom, trimmed his fingernails, changed into new clothes, and even fasted an entire day. He is extremely hungry at this point, so they should finish quickly and eat. He gets the last piece of the puzzle, the purified water, and with only 29 minutes left until the summon, he begins praying for an LSSR. What will come out is definitely a legendary special, super rare. Kosak tells him not to worry too much. It will turn out well. Surely he will not get another guy like Meatball, right? Hyuk shushes him up and asks what's wrong with the Meatball. Thanks to him, they can easily clear floors with S++ rank. Kosak was just trying to reassure him, but after looking at Meatball, who is smirking at him now, he tells him to wipe it off his face before he does. Hyuk tells them to focus, as the time is now. He begins the random summon, and the figure begins to permeate into the room, before they finish appearing fully. They thank him for summoning them. She is the maiden Gaeun Dalray, and she humbly offers her greetings to the young master. What's more, she is of an unknown grade and type. She might be a legendary LSSR. Gaeun is actually in an SSR, special, super rare, and is the shaman type. The tree just kinda stares at her, Hyuk notes that it's a woman and wonders what they will do, and Kosak repeats the same exact things. Gyeon summons her blade and explains that although she is lacking, she swears to pour all of her strength in order to assist Hyuk, who recognizes those knives and bells. Is she a shaman? Suddenly though, Gyeon sees something and immediately calls Kosak a cur, asking what he is glaring at. How dare he look over a maiden's body with such lecherous intentions? He will only come to his senses after receiving a beating. Kosak immediately denies any of this. He was looking because he was amazed, but she tells him to be silent, as she will not have any falsehoods. She will warn him if he harbors wicked thoughts upon seeing her beauty. He will not escape the divine punishment. Hyuk sheepishly tries to calm down the situation, and Gyeon immediately turns around to face him, noting that he may look as much as he wishes, and sit comfortably while he's at it. Hyuk wonders why there is not a single normal person among the summons, but even so, she is an SSR grade. She is on the same level as an upgraded Kasorak, but does a hierarchy form even among SSRs, as her charisma is rather high. He reads her description. She is the strict, solemn, and serious chief shaman of the Cheon Empire Imperial Shrine. This makes Hyuk wonder if leaving out purified water and begging affected the summon, but he is going into the memories of her to find out. He suddenly finds himself in a rather traditional Korean place, and the explanation begins. Gyeon, the daughter of the Emperor Myeong of the Cheon Empire. Since childhood, the princess who had keen interests in the state religion, shamanism, became a shaman of the Imperial Shrine. Upon the death of her father, Emperor Myeong, her younger brother succeeded to the throne and ascended as emperor, but soon after, he was murdered by their uncle, who then usurped the throne. Enraged, she vowed a blood revenge and performed a death curse ritual. Gyeon's uncle also installed all sorts of magical arrays throughout the palace and prepared a scapegoat to take the death curse in his place too, using all of his power and means at his disposal in order to prepare for his niece's revenge. She had served the Cheon Empire chief shaman as her master since childhood, making her the greatest shaman of all time. Because of this, when she sent the death curse, not even 100 arrays could have stopped it. However, unlawfully sending a death curse for a personal grudge is an act against the heavenly law. She succeeded in her revenge, but as the death curse she sent rebounded back to her, her short life came to an end. Now he understands the reason for her charisma and serious personality. It doesn't really match her appearance, but after looking at her past life, he understands. Hyuk notes that he has something to ask, which Gyeon immediately agrees to answer, whatever it is. He asks the name of the person who founded the Cheon Empire. She explains that it was the great Emperor Hwan. He defeated the wicked Wang and Kim clans and expanded his territory to the land of the old Goguryeo. He was a great man who changed the name of the nation from Baekje to Cheonje. Hyuk is shocked and asks if it was the same Gyeon Himen who founded the later Baekje, and she confirms as such. Now he gets it. This is a parallel universe. In Gyeon's world, it was later Baekje, not Goryeo, that unified the later three kingdoms. Kesarak also said he operated in a place similar to modern Earth with his previous powers. He listened even more, but the history before the Cheon Empire was basically the same history he knows. As expected, the branch of history divergent from the later Three Kingdoms period was more interesting. This is fascinating. Certainly, being a former princess, her charisma must be no joke. Since he has been fasting since yesterday for the summon, he asks the others if they want some ramen, but Gyeon notes that being picky about food is against etiquette, so she will eat whatever. The others simply wait as Hyuk gets to cooking, but Gyeon is mortified and calls them a bunch of curs. Despite being mere summons, they act so arrogantly. They deserve divine punishment. How can they leave the young master to prepare food all by himself? They will get up at once. Kosak waves a dismissive hand and knows that it's too much to use for formal speech between fellow SSRs, right? Now Gyeon understands. She was going to try to persuade him with words, if possible, but it seems she will have to cast the Yangbap upon him to bring him to his senses. Kosak immediately disagrees, as he doesn't want any curse, and they both begin to prepare the food with Hyuk right away. He is surprised. One's a crazy assassin, and the other is a barbarian warrior. It seems that even guys like them have something they are afraid of. Hyuk asks if they would like to go together into the tower after they eat, and Gyeon agrees, as she will serve him with all her loyalty. And with that, they enter the 30th floor. Hyuk thinks that maybe there's a good thing about Gyeon being here, since Kosak can't do anything, because she's on him at all times. Perhaps he could hunt around 10 or so enemies now. Kosak and Meatball immediately get prepared, noting that they have to practice safety first and protect their summoner. Gyeon is pleased. She thought they were just lowly people who did not have any etiquette yet. but it seems they have a proper mindset. The mission for the 30th floor is to defeat 80 trolls of any type, and one twin-headed troll, with a time limit of 13 hours. Hyuk can't help but wonder how a shaman will participate in combat, looking at her past. It's probably going to be a curse type. Is she going to send a death curse on the monsters? Perhaps. Surprising everyone, though, she summons a portable speaker, and she is rather embarrassed about it. Originally, a master drummer is needed to play the drum, but since this maiden, meaning her, travels alone, she has to prepare this as a desperate measure. Hyuk just gives her a thumbs up. As the others charge in, she presses play, and almost immediately, the two feel a change inside of their bodies. Gion begins to chant as she unleashes a shamanistic ritual and slowly begins to let out a bunch of blinding light, causing Meatball's body to grow even bigger, allowing him to simply deflect strikes by being there. He takes out the ones that were attacking with surging power, and Kosak does the same. He hasn't grown, but he has gotten heightened senses, and he feels more alive than ever. Hyuk is pleasantly surprised. He thought she was a cursed character, but she can buff too. Furthermore, the trolls have noticeably slowed down. She applies buffs and debuffs at the same time. He's never heard of anything like this anywhere. His fighting spirit is boiling over, so he can't hold back anymore. He needs to see what he can accomplish with this, before he can charge though. Gion grips his shirt with a death grip, and notes that fighting is best left to the underlings. He can just watch comfortably, right? He notes that he was just going to catch a few and get out, but Gion tells him that it's not wise to stand shoulder to shoulder with such lowly things. Hyuk says he's a coward too, and thinks that he might not be able to catch anything again at this rate. So he tells her that this is an order. She should hurry and let go of his shirt. Before he knows it, the floor comes to an end, and he becomes immediately frustrated, as he couldn't catch a single troll. Whether she shouted or not, he should have just shaken her off and gone. Suddenly though, he looks at Gion, who is quivering and crying. Hyuk wonders when the absolute obedience and the third principle of the summoned collided as she broke down like this. Still, for an SSR grade to cry. He tries to calm her down, but then she says she was afraid that she might lose him, as she always loses everyone. Hyuk's heart sinks, and he suddenly realizes he's been an idiot. She lost her father at a very young age. She was betrayed by the uncle she had trusted, and she even had to endure the death of her younger brother. When she cast that death curse for revenge, knowing she would die as well, how must she have felt? He can't even fathom such a thing. She's been isolated, fearful, and despairing for a long time. She is a girl who lost everyone precious to her in the past. The summoned aren't just familiars to be evaluated by their grade. They're also human beings with emotions and reason. Maybe her usual strong demeanor is also just her forcing herself to act strong in order to hide her own weakness. Seeing this, Hyuk pushes himself and pets her head, telling her not to worry, as he won't go anywhere dangerous. He promises, and she says that she is grateful, and the others come back running. But Kosak wonders why the princess is crying, as he thought perhaps he scolded her for treating him so poorly. Hyuk waves a dismissive hand, and notes that he's the one who did something to get scolded for later. But Kosak notes that he will cry too. Gion calls him a knave, as how does he dare to approach the young master with bloodstains on his clothes? With that, and a little more bickering, they exit the tower and go back to Hyuk's apartment. He tells them to get some rest, as they deserve it, and he gets another perk, for accumulating 30 platinum badges. This time, he gets an item skill cooldown reset ticket, which will be sent to his tower exclusive inventory. He is surprised by this. A cooldown reset? This is an ultimate jackpot item that lets him use random summon one more time. Should he use it now perhaps? Maybe not though. It's a bit of a waste to use it now, since he has enough firepower. He will use it later when he is in a truly hopeless situation or something. In Japan, in his mansion, Chaelman watches the news. Following the 62nd floor, Korea's player Nam Gayun has successfully cleared the 63rd floor. They will now watch the prepared footage. As they can see in the clear video, the holy attribute item they secured, the Holy Sword, was the key to defeating the undead. If they can just neutralize their dark aura, the undead aren't much different from regular monsters. A reporter asks Director Park about the deadline for Korea's 66th floor clear approaching rapidly. Citizens are highly anxious since Chaelman has defected to Japan. Does he have any countermeasures for this? The director explains that many citizens must be worried, but he will make one promise right here and right now. They will clear the 66th floor within the time limit. Additionally, they are also considering leasing the Holy Sword globally, but he must inform the public and everyone listening that they will not be leasing it to the country where Chaelman is affiliated, no matter which country it is. Hearing this, he smashes the cup he's been drinking out of into the TV and smashes it on the ground. If they had an item like that, They should have just supported him from the start. Then he would have cleared it all for them. Suddenly, the butler comes and asks if something happened. Cheolman says it's nothing, and asks what brings him here so suddenly. He specifically told him he was going to rest for a bit. The butler says it's not much, and asks when he plans on proceeding with the 57th floor. Cheolman is confused. Didn't he say he could take his time in clearing it? The butler understands it's not particularly his fault. However, Japan ended up in a situation where they can't even borrow the item called the Holy Sword. The higher-ups are in the mood for him to clear the floors as fast as possible. Cheolman gets a little ticked off and says that he will clear the 57th floor tomorrow. The butler thinks that the Prime Minister will surely be very pleased to hear this, and while they are at it, how about appearing on a live TV broadcast? That will immediately calm the negative public opinion nationwide. Cheolman says they will do that, and the butler leaves, noting that they will replace his broken TV with a new one, so he should get some rest. After the butler leaves, Cheolman lets his rage out. Whether it's Korea or Japan, they really know how to piss him off. The Holy Sword, who the hell found it in the first place? If he catches them, he will put an end to their lives. Hyuk scrolls through his phone and watches speculations about the Holy Sword, but also sees that people are buzzing about him, which he feels rather happy about. Eventually, his order arrives. 10 tubs of ice cream. It's quite heavy, so should he bring them inside for him? Hyuk says it's fine, as he will handle it and put it all on his counter. This is something he always wanted to do. He used to just swallow his drool and walk past it every time he went to the shops, but now he has bought 10 tubs of premium ice cream. Well, 10 billion gold, a billion at a time, is going to be deposited into his account soon enough, so this is nothing. It seems that he has grown quite a lot. And another thing that changed since Guyon's arrival. If he doesn't take the first bite, the summoned won't eat. That's why they've been staring at him like this. He gives them the command, and they immediately start eating like pigs. Guyon notes that the unreserved behavior of these commoners is beyond frivolous. One should know proper etiquette like this. No matter how excited they are, they must be able to strain their revealed emotions. However, after she takes her first bite, she is immediately pleased with the taste, and Kosak immediately sees it. What was that expression just now? That was frivolous, wasn't it? Guyon clears her throat and explains that her mouth is truly being pampered. She has never tasted such sweet food, even in the royal palace. She is deeply moved by the ice cream bestowed upon them by the young master Hyuk. Hyuk gives her a thumbs up and notes that he will buy more for them next time, pleased to see that ice cream is delicious even to a princess. Traditionally, before she is summoned, she would like to perform a ritual to bring him good fortune and fend off bad luck. Is there perhaps anything troubling his mind lately? Kozak believes there is one thing, and explains that there's a damn scoundrel by the name of Cheolman, and begins explaining to her what happened. She is immediately fired up in righteous fury. How could such a despicable wretch still be alive? A person with great power should devote everything for the sake of the peace of the nation and loyalty to the country, and that is still not enough. How dare he put his homeland in danger and pledge himself to the Japanese? This is absurd. She will not let him be. She must make him pay the price. Kosak is glad to hear it. He agrees with her as well. Gyon asks Hyuk if he could perhaps obtain an item that Cheolman used. He says that it's fine. He is Japanese now, so they shouldn't interfere, but she believes that he is someone who has forsaken human decency. If such a person is left alone, injustice will continue running rampant. Hyuk understands how she feels. He really does, but casting a death curse has a backlash. He is absolutely against her getting hurt just to deal with guys like him. Kosak expected as such. He completely agrees with that opinion too. He is compassionate, wise, and simply the best. Hyuk wonders if he is a parrot or something, and Gyon doesn't know how to express her gratitude for his consideration. However, the curse she will be casting is not a death curse. What she will send is karma. If karma is sent, the consequences will be received a bit sooner, depending on the good and evil deeds Cheolman has committed. Good fortune or misfortune will come to him. It merely determines fortune and misfortune according to the principles of the heavens, so he should be at ease, as she will not suffer any harm whatsoever. Hyuk thinks about it, and since she won't get hurt, there's no reason not to go along with that. They prepare a table, and Gyon prepares a speaker, and eventually, Kosak comes back with an item he used, a remote, and he didn't get caught either. It was not difficult to find an item that Cheolman used. Kosak easily found out his address through Hyuk, who asked Gyon, and since he fled in a hurry, he apparently left all of his furniture and belongings behind. Gyon pulls out a traditional knife and cuts her finger, letting the blood drip on the remote. She begins chanting and unleashing his own karma onto him. If this man's karma is like a mountain, that mountain will crumble today, and if it's like a river, then it will overflow today. Upon the scales of heaven and earth, he will weigh his own burden. The remote seems to come to life for a few short seconds, and with a surge of power, falls down. She exclaims that it is done. Now they will leave the judgments to the heavens. If his sins are light, it will end as a minor misfortune. However, if he bears heavy sins on his shoulders, then soon a great misfortune will fall upon him. In Japan, Kaolman is welcomed warmly on stage. Japan's greatest player, he is called, and everyone gives him a louder round of applause. The reporters agree to hold an interview. They ask because they've heard he is planning to clear the 57th floor today, but he still has plenty of time left until the deadline. So why is he doing it now? Kaolman says that he is right. There wouldn't be a problem even if he took it slow. However, he wanted to send his support to the citizens who have been disheartened by all the recent accidents. As a fellow Japanese citizen, he feels assured. However, he should prioritize his safety above all else, as he knows that before he was naturalized, Japan suffered the sorrow of losing its best players. Kaolman tells them not to worry. Even back when he was just level 57, he cleared it in 8 hours. Now he is at level 66, so in just 5 hours he will clear the floor. As long as he is here, he vows that Japan is safe. He will prove it to them right now. With that, he enters the 57th floor, which is a large mountainscape filled with flying creatures. His goal is to hunt 15 fire wyverns. The deadline is 14 hours, and the failure conditions are death or giving up. Wyverns are monsters that mainly feed on ogres. They are practically considered kings of the sky, aside from the mighty dragons. However, through countless repetitive raids, Kaolman has mastered the 57th floor patterns. It would be weirder if he failed today, so he gets to begin. But before he does, he suddenly feels a chill and shudder down his spine. Perhaps he is not in good condition today. He feels a sense of dread for some reason, and thinks that he should hurry up, finish this, and get some good rest. Tower raids are basically done solo, so it's most important to always make it a one-on-one situation. Even with a higher level, it would be dangerous if multiple giant monsters were to gang up on someone at once. So he aims for the isolated ones and takes them out one by one. He grabs one's aggro with a bolt, and the wyvern immediately charges at him, making him unleash a bunch more bolts. At this point, if he were a normal archer-type player, he would have to quickly create distance right as the monster closed in, but he is an all-weapon player. If the distance closes, he just needs to switch up to a melee weapon. For now, he will keep pouring arrows into it. However, as he keeps pouring arrows into it, one suddenly bounces off the wyvern's claw, attracting 2 more wyverns at once. Kaolman immediately summons his shield and blade, thinking that there was no mistake in his calculation. So what happened? It will be a little rough, but he can deal with 2 of them. Sure enough, he does take the wyverns out, but it takes quite a lot out of him. He wonders why it's like this today. Does it make sense that not a single critical hit landed while he took down 2 of them? This time, though, he will not let his guard down. He will do it right. However, just as he is about to press the trigger of the crossbow, a sneeze comes to him, and he accidentally shoots, making the blast attract the attention of all 3 wyverns at once. He thinks this is crazy. There are 3, too many to fight at once. If he exits the tower like this, he will be broadcast live by the studio, so giving up is not an option. Suddenly, the 3 wyverns let out their breath at once, forcing him to dodge. Breathing is a skill that wyverns rarely use because it puts a strain on them, and the 3 of them are coordinating to do it at the same time. However, there is no time to calculate cooldowns. He will use all of his ultimate skills and finishing moves right here. He unleashes them as such, and after a long and arduous battle, he clears the wyverns out, with only 1 of them remaining. He was a little unlucky with the hits, but it actually worked out pretty well because he hunted them in a group. He managed to catch 5 in almost an hour. This last guy over here will be finished with 1 more hit too. If he sets a record in the 4-hour range like this, it will make an even bigger splash, right? The wyvern lets out a screech, a fiery screech, and Kaolman thinks that this is its final struggle. There's no way an attack with no power left will even hit. This is a textbook situation where it's impossible to make a mistake. He will just step back and finish it with a counter. Suddenly, wyvern nest. He has cracked one of the eggs, and the others, the ones that are hatched, immediately begin to cry out as hard as they can. The probability of a wyvern that only lays eggs in high places laying their eggs on the ground should be impossible. The probability of stepping on the eggs of a wyvern that is just about to hatch is impossible. The probability of a flock of wyverns that just happen to be roaming near the ground hearing the cries of the hatchlings is impossible. Kaolman doesn't know what's happening and screams out in frustration as he runs for the safe zone, wondering how any of this makes sense. He makes his way into the safe zone, thinking that it's better to be utterly humiliated than to die. With the choice of giving up, the mission is failed, and he returns to the stage. A bunch of idols are trying to cheer him on, but he comes back while falling on his face. He immediately drinks a potion, and the interviewer thinks that since he has returned, they will give him a round of applause. There is still a lot of time left before the scheduled clear, so he would like to know the result of the raid. Cheolman doesn't even answer and screams that this is bullshit. Naturally, news about this immediately breaks out about Cheolman being a fraud and about his failure. Rumors even start to flow around, noting that he attempted a second raid 2 days later, and the sources say he has failed. The comments are filled with Koreans and other people berating him, but also with people glad to see that another S++ rank just popped up, as Hyuk has completed the 31st floor. Gaeun has also completed the 64th floor in just 3 hours. At the USA Department of Homeland Security and headquarters, the Secretary of Homeland Security is told by someone that players want to rent out the Holy Sword. Specifically, player Gerald keeps pestering them, saying he wants to use it as soon as possible. The secretary believes his item hoarding disease is acting up again, and the man explaining this notes that, since it's a holy attribute item, it seems he wants it. The secretary wonders why there's still a lot of time left for the 67th floor. What's he trying to do by clearing it so quickly? The man says that he wants to repeatedly clear the 66th floor for testing purposes, so Macmillan, Secretary of Homeland Security, tells him to rent it out, since they requested it officially through diplomatic channels. It shouldn't cost that much. Antonio, the Tower Raid Director, also notes that they've received a call from the Japanese Prime Minister's office. It is an unofficial inquiry regarding the temporary naturalization of a player affiliated with their department. Macmillan notes that it seems the player they naturalized fell rather short of their expectations. Antonio also notes that it doesn't look like a temporary issue. The situation seems to be quite serious for them. Macmillan tells Antonio that a temporary naturalization is more than possible, but there will naturally be conditions. They have to wring out as much as possible from them. He can probably extract the rental fee for the Holy Sword while he's at it as well. They should drag out the negotiations until the deadline of Japan's collapse, right? Since they will be desperate, they will be paying a whole lot more than usual. Thank you for watching. See you next time.